Good evening, chat. Hello. It's Friday night, and why am I? Oh, you gotta. I hate it when it does this. Hold on, guys. Why is it all flipped? Camera, mirror my camera. Do not mirror my camera. I want the authentic. Want the authentic version of what's going on. We've got updates in the Destiny and Pixie case. And really, guys, honestly, like I was like, oh, we'll get to that. Oh, we'll get to that. Then something happened. It's like 6 months later, when like we need to catch up. We need to catch up. And we're not gonna do. I kind of realized I punished myself doing those Greer streams for 4 hours. No, we're not doing that. We're kind of hitting the highlights here. We're hitting a lot of the highlights, and I think it's important the highlights that we hit because wow. I mean, I guess there's arguments to be made that, some things like Destiny may not have been sharing pornography with a minor, but holy shit, the arguments that have to be made to explain why that's the case, I don't think are much better, like, at the end of the day. Like, you literally, you're burning the village to save the village at this point. But we're going to get to all that. We're going to get to all that here real quick. Oh, and let's get started. If you guys are new to the show, yeah, too long TLDR. Greer owes Harden $850. Yeah, which I'm surprised. I'm surprised they didn't say like they cut it in half or just kept chopping it down. But if you guys are new, my name's Sean, also known as Potentially Criminal. I'm an attorney in the Cleveland, Ohio area. Not for much longer, though. But yes, we're going to talk about Destiny tonight and get caught up on it. Now, when we talked about this before, guys, getting into this case, Destiny's accused of basically sharing private images of Pxie on the internet with other people. And who's Destiny? Destiny is the, wobble-jawed warrior poet of the online left. You guys have seen him before. He used to have blue hair. Destiny used to be a girl's name. But that's not the Destiny we're if you guys have not seen, actually Destiny's line right now, but where is a good thing of Destiny here? So here is Destiny in action. You guys have never seen him before. Here is actually where's a good one? Good picture of him. Okay, yeah, actually this will be a good one. Okay, so here we go. If you guys have not seen him, I actually needed a better picture because a lot of the ones are kind of cringe. But anyways, this is Destiny right here. If you guys have never seen him before, I assume you have, but this is Destiny. This is him right here. Famous for debating everybody. And yeah. I don't want to watch Destiny in action. Well, we're not talking about that kind of action. We're not talking about that kind of action. We're not doing that kind of action here. Pete Up says, that is not Clyde. No, it's not. No, it's not. Anyways, hello to our world aristocrat. Good to see you, man. Joe Schmo says, doesn't Destiny live in Florida? Yes, he lives in Miami. I'm many hours away from him. So no, I'm not going on his show. I am not going on his show. Yes, yes, guys, we are leaving Ohio. If you weren't aware, we are heading down to Florida 2.0. Got like a promotion. Pretty big one. Really all the things kind of fell into place. They're really recognizing her for all the work she's done. Very proud of her for it. And yeah, we're heading down to the Gunshine State. So yes, au revoir, Cyrax. Au revoir, Governor Vivek. Ugh. So yeah, that's not going to be good. That's not going to be good. James, is there any Florida lolcows? Well, Destiny's in Florida. So yes. Yes, there's already a start there. Third World Risk Guy says, the judge is ordering stuff and I won't act like a subject, Sean. I know. That's not a Destiny. We're not making fun of Destiny. We're making fun of someone else. But yes, the judge shot. Like, yeah, I'm sure that the man who's screaming like that on Twitter was definitely the one who showed composure in the courtroom. Yeah. Is Destiny going to prison? No. And I said this before, he shouldn't go to prison for this. What Destiny is accused of basically is revenge pornography, but not in the way normally we think of it, where he intentionally, blasted video of him and Pxie fucking all over the internet. No, he was in a Discord, and this is something. It's not even the first time Destiny's been accused of this. He shares and trades nudes and lewds with people, and he traded these ones of Pxie to someone named Rose. And from Rose, they went to somebody named Solo, and from Solo onto the farms and other places, and it blew all up from there. Now, you might say, well, wait, sounds like Destiny's a sex pest. You're not wrong. So Pxie has sued for a couple different state law actions. The biggest thing at this point, though, for Pxie is she's suing under Cardi. And it's it is a federal law which allows a private cause of action to allow you to sue for the civil remedies of the unauthorized disclosure of intimate images. So allows you to pursue cases in federal court. Now, the problem is for Pxie, there is a line of applicability when the statute goes into effect. It is not retroactive. And there's some debate. Did this conduct Destiny did, was it on this side of the line where she could do something with it, or is it on this side of the line where she's shit out of luck? And there's a lot going on there. That is one of the bigger battles right now, is just a jurisdictional argument. Does the federal court have subject matter jurisdiction over any of this? Because really, the state law stuff isn't really the big thing here. It's the federal stuff, and that's kind of what keeps this case alive. If that dies, this whole thing's probably going down the shitter as we go. Now, the buzz says blue a law. Yes. Okay, well, from there, though, guys, Destiny getting felted by poor OPSEC. Well, no, because people usually in his position where they're doing all this shit, they want that. And honestly, what he did to Pxie wasn't right, but these women in his orbits are all like clout chasing hoes who, it's not like they were just, some innocent girl. Like, I mean, basically he used the fact he's got the money and the power, then he gets the women, which he did it the Scarface way. He did the Scarface way. So I don't feel bad for everybody involved in here, but it is interesting how this is shaking out. Fresh and Fitter in Miami, right? They could offer pointers for cuck chair placement. Oh. Master Breadloaf says, Inshallah, my brothers. Yes, peace be upon you and the Prophet. Oh. Destiny reads Wikipedia. I mean, here's the thing I'll say. I don't think there's anything wrong with using Wikipedia to help you establish basic knowledge on things. What Wikipedia is really good for is the collection of citations and works cited below that allow you to research and kind of go from there. But I mean, I will say I am shocked at what he has to read and learn, but he is trying to read and learn. I will give him credit for that. Cyrex isn't fit in any place. Well, that's true. I should take Cyrex with me and feed him to the fucking alligators. We're not doing that. Kay says, well, still breathing. Well, I came back and logged off. Yes, I don't want to live in a state full of Indians anymore. Yes. Tech Guy says, we're going to Florida. Yes, we are. Sometime this summer we will. And Boosh McFadden, how you doing, man? Says another Destiny Spurg out is always welcome. Well, yeah, well, I mean, I really haven't had a chance to watch what he's been up to, but I'm sure he's spurged out. And he will again, who knows? And then real quick, Coffee Cat for 5 subs. Oh, that's such a nice little kitty drinking coffee. But you get an woo from Clyde for that. Thank you very much for your support, your generosity. Erica Thorpe for 10 subs. An EDW Raptor for 10 subs. Yeah, chat, just helping pray the gray away. Pray the gray away. Make America green again. And just big fucking support out there. Thank you, guys. Let's... Hold on. Are you okay, bud? Come here. Come here. Come here, Clyde. Clyde, come here. Did you guys hear that? It was like... He was scratching and just thumping. It was like fucking Bambi was playing in here. Okay, I'm like, you want to come up here? And Clyde's like, no, I'm good. He's like, bye, fat man. Okay, come here, Clyde. Come on, bud. He's like, I think 2.0 had food. I'm going to go see what she's up to. Actually, I think 2.0's got treats, so he'll go out there anyway. That was really annoying. I thought that was Clyde fapping. Oh, Sesson Actual says, hey, my wife's Outback is acting up. Can you check it out? Sure. I'll definitely do that for you. Winter Soldier says, God. All right. Anyways, guys, getting into that stuff with Destiny, that's where we are. The case was pending for a while. And I said this earlier. I was not impressed with the caliber of the lawyering from Pxie's team. Destiny actually hired some pretty good attorneys. One of them, especially Andrew Bretler, is a guy who's represented Harvey Weinstein, among other people, dealing with some of this, these allegations of sex assault and whatnot. So, like, these serious, kind of attorney and disaster management and mitigation specialist. So Destiny's had a great legal team. And the one thing they've done, and I've said this before, and like when we get to the Smash JT stuff, I've said it again and again and again. The rules are like, if you follow the rules, that's like 75% or more of the way to a victory in a case. Because if you don't follow the rules of civil procedure, you're toast. And the other side does or kind of does, well, they're already ahead of the curve. And Destiny's team is very good. They're very, they're doing a phenomenal job in that regard. And they continue to do a great job in that regard. Pxie's attorneys, not so much. And things have kind of like, I still think it's anybody's game. Do I think that she's going to be liable? I don't know. Who is this? Okay, I'll set that. But we'll see, and I'll let you guys kind of decide. I'll let you guys decide here in a second. No proof of Clyde. Well, I'm gonna hold on 1 second. Hold on, I hear click clacks. Clyde, come here. Clyde. Come here, Bubba. Clyde, come here. Clyde, come here. Hold on, chat. Let me grab him. I'm gonna get up and get him. Come here, Clyde. Come on. Clyde, hey. Come here. Bud. Hey. Clyde, come here. Come on. All right, shit. I had to grab him, and he is all fired up. So, proof of Clyde, proof of life. And he will come to Florida with us. We are not leaving him here. Hi, Bubba. You're such a good boy. Yes. Mwah. Keep looking at the camera. They want to see your face. Blink twice to show you're not in fear. All right, buddy. All right, guys. So let's get into where we are in this court case. Clyde is mad he's going to Florida. I don't know. I think he's okay. So, if you guys have not seen the court case here, this court case is... let's see. Oh, that's why I can't find the share tab, because I already had it open. It's a case of Doe versus Bonnell. Even though Pxie, we know who Pxie is, she's suing under Jane Doe. And she's suing Destiny, whose name is Stephen Bonnell. And this is down in the Southern District of Florida. And we started all the way back in February of last year. And since then, we're now up to filing 235. So unlike the Russell Greer case, this is actually a good example of like there's still a lot of motion practice here, but it's not as bad as, Russell Greer acting like a retard. So it's still a ton. It's still a ton, though. Now, where do we want to start? Well, we stopped in roughly October on everything. And as we were in October, a couple things happened. There were a couple things done, but the biggest thing that happened really, I think in the meantime, was that there was an opportunity to go forward, and Pixie's team sought out a deposition for Melina, Destiny's ex-wife, who now is banging like one of the Skarsgårds, like Peter Stellan Skarsgård or something. I don't know, one of the Skarsgård family. She lives in Sweden now. And you want to serve discovery throughout the world. The U.S. is part of treaties and conventions that allow for it. And it takes time. Now, the thing is, this didn't occur till late in the fall. And they've known if Destiny had an ex-wife. They've known about her forever. The idea they didn't know about her. This is one of those times where I've been disappointed in Pixie's team. They did it really late. Why did they do it so late? I don't know. But that's out there. That has still not been addressed at this point. Doing international things like this takes forever in lawsuits and civil procedure. It takes forever. And then ultimately, the real important thing here is on December 11th, Destiny went ahead and kind of just did the first major shot across the bow of where they're at in this case and what they think they're going to do. Destiny filed for sanctions. Now, what are they doing here? Well, they're filing under Rule 11. So what do they point out here? And this is where we're going to read through some of Destiny's comments, and I'm like, no, I think there's a valid case here, despite what Destiny protest. They claim the attempt to obfuscate the record, the Rule 11 sanctions are straightforward and are warranted as a matter of law. In a pleading publicly filed on October 3rd, the plaintiff falsely accused Destiny of transmitting sexually explicit material to a minor. Since at least October 23rd, plaintiff and attorneys have known the allegation was categorically false. Despite having ample opportunity to withdraw the false allegation and file a corrected pleading, was it false or was it incorrect? Because remember, like we start out with, Destiny has had conversations with people. And remember, we'll go back to this right here. It's absolutely insane to think about she could, of him doing all this if she was 17. Remember, this is Solo and Rose Destiny's talking about. Then you have all this stuff here, that he talked with Rose and they admitted to talking to her. And there was a lot of reason to believe Rose was a minor. So the idea that it was false, well, it turned out to be false later, but you don't have to go back and amend those things you learn that aren't correct later. If it was materially false and you knew it was false at the start, go back and fix it. But if I accuse you of something and some of the facts don't pan out, well, I don't have to go back and fix that. At this point, that's not how that works. That's not how this works. So anyways, they're screaming about this. And they say, indeed, the plaintiff bends over backwards to justify her refusal. only highlighting our true motivation, using a public forum to falsely cast Destiny as a sexual predator. Destiny, your actions have kind of put you in that light. I mean, the idea that you've done that, you have a horrible fucking track record with women. I think a lot of people think you're already an awful fucking person when it comes to this. Adjective says Timu Mr. Medicare wannabe, who Destiny or me? Because I'm doing bad if I'm trying to be Destiny or Mr. Medicare. And they argue the sanctions for conduct are inappropriate because the allegation was made constitutes nothing more than an inconsequential minor violation. Well, they say the accusation is knowingly and demonstrably false. It's not referenced anywhere in the complaint. Yeah, because we learned more information as the case went on. Now, they say it's contradicted by the evidence of the record, namely the deposition testimony. Well, yeah, we learned a lot. Well, we learned a lot about that deposition, let me tell you guys. Because that deposition, they did find Rose and they deposed her. And, well, whoa. Remember, Destiny said he's talked to her and worked with, done stuff with her. Well, They claim it has no bearing on whether she can establish jurisdiction, nor is it relevant to any cause of action. It's only to inject an inflammatory and baseless insinuation into the case to prejudice the court and or jury. And it says Rule 11 does not permit a party to manufacture a false accusation of this gravity. Is it really being manufactured? Is it really being manufactured here? Is it being manufactured? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I don't think that's manufactured at all. There's a lot of evidence at the time it did happen. Equally troubling, after refusing to withdraw the allegation and file a corrected pleading during the safe harbor period, they instead followed a retaliatory Rule 11 motion against Destiny. What the hell? What the hell? What is going on here? It all just died. Hold on, chat. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. That's weird. That's not good. Why? What the fuck happened here? The whole thing just like... That was weird. That was completely weird. Huh, it's happening again. Something must be going on with things on Court Listener, because that's a very weird result. So going on here, guys, we'll catch up. Here. They say this conduct falsely falls in the category of abuses here. They didn't merely refuse to retract her false and wholly, not horribly. That's what Pxie. These women are all hoes. Wholly irrelevant allegation. She doubled down. It's like, well, the Destiny should love that. That's all he does is double down. You join late and I start boomering. Yeah, that's what happened. That was weird. Yeah. Now, the plaintiff improperly seeks sanctions against Destiny for merely demanding the plaintiff withdraw or correct her complaint. Remember, if you do a Rule 11 and it's frivolous, that's a subject to Rule 11 itself. But anyways, they advance and maintain a false thing here and claiming it was false. And then they seek to punish Destiny and his lawyers for seeking to enforce the law. You're like, you can't say that about me. Oh. Now, Rule 11 requires people, and it's correct, you make reasonable inquiries and advise the court of any changes. Now, what you may have to do there is you could say, look, yeah, we will withdraw that and say, yes, she wasn't a minor, but the idea that it was wholly without merit, I think there was a lot of evidence to show that. And we're going to get to the deposition here. And the deposition doesn't make a whole lot of sense about what happened, because if this is the argument of what occurred, you're like, I don't know if that's legit or not. Like, the story doesn't seem to make sense here. There's a lot of confusion, I would argue, in how this worked out. Now, they claim that the allegation is only false. So what they say, there's first nor dispute, Destiny never transmitted a video to Miss So-and-so. Now, this is all redacted out. And we're going to get to what happened, because Rose gave a deposition. And the deposition, interesting, guys. A very interesting deposition. So, how does it start? Well, we'll start from here, guys. This is where we're just going to cheat and use as it's presented here. So this is Rose talking at the beginning. She said, I'm more concerned about myself because my address, picture, my car, and everything got posted online. And what does she say? Destiny did that. And she says, Destiny put my name and address on Twitter. It's called doxing, right? She's like, yeah. Well, there we go. We're starting that way. And then she says Destiny put together a group of guys in Discord, and that there was like a Discord that he put together, wanted to find Rose, which was me. And he did. He had a Discord chat of like a strike team of Indians going, sir, we shall find her for you, sir. These people found out all kinds of information. Destiny said that I went to blank, and I think maybe my name, and I lived in blank, and so. Like, you're like, wow, that's a great job, Destiny. Great job. From there, it just keeps going, though. And it says, when did you first become aware of who Destiny is? Probably in like December. Ben is solo. Ben really liked watching his streams. In December of 2021, that happened. And they said, so we would watch his streams together and like his YouTubing together. And you're like, oh, okay, well, so what's going on here with all this? You're like, and it says, is the guy's name Solo? And, he being Solo. What did she say? Yes. Ben is Solo, and that's what he went by online, Solo Levenling. And that's all I knew him from, so I'm assuming the Solo guy that you guys are talking about would be him. Okay. Interesting. Also, hat tip to Latrell Sprewell, and also Ludmilla Saltzman over on the farms, because this is man. This is where this goes. This is where it goes. Now, here's the thing. So Rose is claiming that Solo, who lived in another country, was forcing and using her to help create pornographic material for him. That he was basically forcing her to do stuff, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but okay. And she was threatened with basically the exposure of her nudes to her family and other stuff to her family, which is actually a very common tactic among groomers and other pieces of shit. They will scare children and teenagers into, more than one boy has gotten, committed suicide over that. Girls have committed suicide over that. All kinds of things. Well, it's a little weird here, because now the story is, and as this story has gone on here, guys, now, Rose is now claiming that Solo was pretending to be her, and Destiny was gooning to one of his fans. Yes, this is like Mandy K. Destiny got Mandied in a very real way. Like, this is fucking ridiculous. It's like, did Solo ever tell you why he was catfishing Destiny? I don't know if he just said specifically. I just think it's because he liked his content, his streams and stuff. And he's also, Ben was bisexual, so I don't know if he would derive sexual pleasure from it or not. Well, yeah. I mean, they like they're all the videos of Destiny out there with doing stuff, and then all the people who think that who Destiny is with, and like I think Nick Fuentes, they probably kicked it off. But really, this is like Mandy level stuff here. Getting catfished by one of your viewers and then gooning to that guy. Oh man. That's not good. That's not good. Is that your shock face? I mean, I'm not surprised that Destiny, like, if you told me, hey, Destiny has goon sessions with his, members of the Taliban, I'd have been like, okay. Destiny got catfish, but like this whole thing is just weird. It just keeps going. There's just some of this doesn't add up. It's already starting to get a little weird. It's already starting to get weird here. Kez is saying, what kind of trial is it? Destiny and Pixie is a civil lawsuit. It's a civil lawsuit. Pixie is suing Destiny for sharing nude and intimate images of her with other parties, which then ended up getting all over the internet. So that's what this is. It's a civil case. Destiny had the Mexican savior, the white race, in his mouth. Oh, I'm sure they were in each other's mouths. I mean, really. Yes, they were in a very loving and very romantic relationship. It all just ties together. This is it doesn't make sense that Rose is being threatened and being forced to do all this. These guys lived thousands of miles apart. Like, the whole thing just seems very conveniently cooked up. It just seems very well cooked up. And I mean, this is where it starts with, how did you believe he lived? How does Rose believe that Solo lived in England? Well, she said he had an accent, and whenever I asked to meet, he would make up an excuse, so that may assume he's actually not there. He also told me that's where he's from. He told me later on in his relationship when I was breaking up with him that he actually had been living in Oxford for longer than he told me. So it's a guy living over in Britain. You're like, well, that's interesting. It's very interesting how that works out there. But don't you worry, guys. Don't you worry. It gets even weirder. It's even weirder. Because here we go. They ask Rose, were you aware that he created a Discord account under the name of Rose of the Garden in which he communicated with Destiny? Yes. Did he share with you any of the messages or videos of all of this? Sometimes, yeah. Oh, man. Ew. Did he ask for permission to make an account? Were you aware of the accounts? Yes. And she said, were you aware of Twitter, videos being sent back and forth? Yes. It just goes on here, and it says that, now you said you had not in response to those. Just now, regarding whether you had ever seen those Discord messages, didn't Ben send you screenshots of these messages? And sometimes, but not those. None of the Discord messages? Not the ones you had me see. Does that mean there's more? But I didn't see those. The other Discord messages. Like, yeah. So it's like, well, what did she see? I don't know, but and then in this message, Steven messaged the person he believes he's talking to is 18, right? I mean, I don't know if that's actually correct, because Destiny seems to go back here and like, he's not 100% sure. He is not 100% sure she's 18. He's not 100% sure. So you're like, what's going on? What's going on here, buddy? You're like, what's all this about? What's all the hubbub? Where is? Oh shit! Did I lose it? Where's? Oh no, I got it right. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there, chat. Lost my train of thought. Damn it! Where did I? Fuck! I just lost my spot, guys. I just lost my spot. There we go. Okay, sorry, I had to find my spot again. Damn it, I lost it. The trains are mentioned, yes. And this goes on here, and it says that ultimately this goes through here, and yes. Remember, Destiny is also said on one hand he held us information. Plus, you're thinking about those boys. No, I'm trying to like where I'm at, and I lost my tabs. Because I'm to the point where I have a bunch of tabs that are just the icons. I can't read them. So it doesn't go out there. It doesn't really help. So and this stuff here doesn't make it work. I mean, some of this stuff, this idea that Solo was, threatening Rose. Do you believe it? No. He's like he's on the other side of the Atlantic, and he said that he told him not to talk to me or reach out to me, and then he threatened to, probably show nudes of me to people. So I blocked him and told my parents. He wanted to call me, but I didn't call him. And it says, what did he say? First, he started threatening me. He threatened to kill himself, which is another way these fucking weirdos work. And then once it got worse, he said he'd kill my family and he would come and kidnap me and use me as a sex slave. Bullshit. This seems very manufactured. And it's very convenient. All this manufacturing is seeming to work out in Destiny's favor. You're like, oh, how does that work? How does that work? How does that work? It doesn't. Oh, it just doesn't. And the idea that those threats are serious, nobody would. Lou says, bigger question, would a judge or a jury believe Rose? I don't know. I mean, I can tell you it seems sketchy as fuck. But also, this is not germane to the point of whether or not he violated Cardi. Now, if this all comes in, oh my God, it's going to be rough for him. Could Rose be trying to minimize her involvement? Sure. Could she be telling the truth? Also possible. But once again, it's a very convenient timing for all this truth to come out. Very convenient timing. Especially if Destiny's already said, I talked to her. I've dealt with her. It's like, then how do you know? Make that make sense. And it doesn't really make sense. This is, and the other things that she does here just don't make sense. That she doesn't remember having calls with Destiny, but she remembers the rest of the situation. And that, if she doesn't do what her boyfriend says, he's going to, kill her or make her a sex slave. She doesn't remember having to go talk to this fucking weird middle-aged dude about fucking gooning. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. But she tries to say that. Did you ever tell Ben you'd be willing to speak to Destiny? And why would he say that? And she's like, well, I don't know. And, she says, are you saying you never spoke with Destiny? I don't remember calling him. But no, I never messaged him. They say, did you speak with him on Discord? I don't remember if I ever called him. And they say, would you be surprised if he produced documents in this case that he did speak with you? And she's like, yeah, that's weird. Isn't that weird, guys? Who's believable right now? Who is believable right now? I don't know. You can try your own conclusions there, guys. And you say, does any of this, and they're showing your exhibits, does this trigger your memory when you spoke to them on the phone? They're trying to get this in to have her explain what happened. And would you be surprised if you heard that he had produced documents saying he spoke to you for hours on a call? She's saying, yes, I would be surprised. So you have no record on that. She's like, no. So remember, Destiny said, I've talked to her. I've talked to her at length. Remember, this is This is the thing here. You know, we were on all these Skype calls. It's not a. This is not a good place to be right now. So is he lying? Is she lying? Are they both lying? What is the truth? Shamu says they don't have the phone. They don't necessarily have like phone calls, but Destiny's talked about. Oh, I talked to her a bunch, and she's like, I don't remember doing that. It's like, well, then who the fuck's telling the truth? Seems a little self-serving here, and it seems like this helps Destiny quite a bit, doesn't it? Um. Um. Now they're saying that here's a message that she sent to Destiny saying, "My boyfriend just broke up with me." And then you say he told me he loved me, then blocked me on everything. And they're saying it's accurate. That would have been the date you and Solo split up. Yes. And your testimony is you didn't send this message to Destiny. I did not. That's some fucking Mandy tier catfishing chat. Wow. Whoa, Mandy. That is some Mandy level shit. That's some Mandy level shit, you guys. And we're back to the start of the parts of her thing there. Lou is saying her boyfriend was recording these on Skype calls. Isn't Destiny talking to her? It's Solo. Isn't Destiny talking to her? It's Solo recording. On sending it to Destiny. No. I mean, if he's gonna argue that he's saying that he's talked to her though. You know, if he's gonna argue this is all done by Skype, and I don't think there's anything in Rose's thing to indicate that. And Destiny saying he talked to her like he was actually talking for hours on end. It's like, well, then how does this all work? You think I'm reading the Destiny chat wrong? Well, hold on. I'll pull it up here. Let's pull it up. Her boyfriend was recording these on Skype calls. Okay, fair enough. I did read that wrong. This one doesn't support that, but Destiny has stated he's talked to her before. And he's talked to her for hours. So is this even correct either? Or is Destiny lying already here? You know, a bunch of the story doesn't add up right now. Which, you know, you guys can have people can have fun with that one and make their presumptions here. But yeah, that's a lot of different version of events. That's worse than Nick Reicade saying like, oh, the cops touched the hair, the test wasn't done right. My black kids and benzoleconine materializing in humid environments. Like, we're getting to that kind of level of there's 5 different ways the story is being told. Like, but Destiny said, I talked to her for a ton of time. And Rose's like, well, that never happened. Well, who's telling the truth? Who's telling the truth? Lou says, I think Destiny was wishy-washy on ever talking to her. In the initial oral arguments, he said he may have talked to her on the phone once. Yeah, but they noticed the opposing counsel wasn't like, objection, that's not true. Like, they're not being accused of fabricating that or making a false statement there. So I think there's a problem. You know, and I think Destiny's being wishy-washy and never talking to her. Yeah, because it looks really bad if he does. It looks really bad if he does because then this kind of falls apart. But it already falls apart facing him. Like, I don't know how Destiny thinks he survives. Anyway, Destiny is seeking Rule 11 sanctions against Pxie. Pixie's likewise going back and forth. And that is where we go. We scroll ahead here, guys, going back to the things here in the case. We're going to chug along here a little bit because there's a lot of things that get filed. And, you know, we're not going to be here all night to do this. But there are motions for sanctions. Obviously, there are oppositions to that. There was a mediation that was held. And you're like, oh, wow, they had a mediation? Whoa, that's... What the fuck? Why is it not? Something must be wrong with court listener. because that's not right. That's not how that should work. Yeah, and that's the thing. He sounds like he knew her well, and now he doesn't know her. It's like, well, which one is it? You got to pick a lane. But getting to this, guys, here we are. This is a mediation report. Shocker, shocker. Like, dun, dun, dun. They reached an impasse. They reached an impasse. I'm sure Destiny at this point has said, fuck you, I'm not giving you a dime. And, you know, from his position, if he thinks he's in the right, you know, great. Yeah, you're not going to. I'm sure Pxie said, give me $50 million. And I'm sure Destiny said, hell no. So, yes, shocker chat. They could not reach an agreement. They could not reach any sort of mediated settlement. And you might say, well, wait, why did this happen then if they were probably never going to be able to agree? Well, remember, courts like cases to resolve. It's less shit they have to do. So they encourage the parties to settle because usually where there's a will, there's a way, and there's usually some middle ground. Sometimes you get the cases and there is no middle ground. Well, you have to find that out in mediation. And the mediator still gets paid. Well, yes, the mediator gets paid no matter what. And there are many federal district courts where that's mandatory. Mediation is mandatory. You have to try it. Because remember, they want you to settle these things out instead of making them deal with it. So, yes, they couldn't reach an agreement. You're like, oh, shocker. It's like, yeah, well, I'm shocked as much as you are, chat. And yes, it's like Nick and Aaron. At this point, you know, Nick's like, I'm not settling ever. Okay, well, then, yeah, having settlements are goofy. But the court can order them and enforce them. Who gets paid more, lawyers or mediators? Depending. It depends on the situation, but like mediators and arbitrators can make really good money. Especially if you're like in arbitration for like, you know, professional athletes, or you do like labor arbitration and labor mediations, like high level ones. Yeah, there's, you know, the American Arbitration Associations where you can hire arbitrators to come out and, you know, deal with your situations. Yeah, those guys do really well. Those guys do well. It's not the easiest gig in the world to get into where it's good for you, but yeah, no, it if you can get it, if you can get the work, it's not bad. It's not bad. Yeah, union labor arbitration in labor law arbitration is big money, chat. That's big money. That's like owning an ATM or a, you know, printing press, and you could just print out $100 bills. Those guys don't eat SpaghettiOs at night, let me tell you. Oh, been there, done that. It's only mediate between my kids. Well, not that one. Like a real mediation. All right. From there, the thing that we were kind of waiting for, we thought, when was it going to happen? Destiny made a motion for summary judgment. And this was on January 30th. He went ahead and made his motion. And yeah, you know, chat, we're like 2.5 months late, you know, February, March, and then, you know, but hey, it's still time. It's still time. Now, we're going to go through this, and this is kind of, it's actually, I think it's actually pretty well done here. So, mediate these nuts. Anyways, Destiny is seeking summary judgment under Rule 56. Now, guys, what is Rule 56? We talked about this before. If this was just at the normal motion to dismiss stage, we'd be under Rule. Why? That's not working. It's white. We would have Rule 12. We'd have Rule 12 B6. And that's where, like, what commonly failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. Yes, there were other things that, yeah, well, that's another sanction, but I'm talking about the big sanctions. Yes, there are some issues about Pxie missing its deposition, but the bigger one is her lawsuit is bullshit is the bigger argument. And you accuse me of being a pedophile is a massive problem. Also, I didn't realize those look like goofy boobies. So it's like, we'll just get rid of those now. But yes, that is a second sanction, like that's a sanction, but the one of like you accused our guy being a pedophile and accused him of, committing, sexual crimes to a child. You have that here. It's not part of the complaint. It's in your filings now. It's not relevant to the case. We want to sanction you for that. That's like the actual big thing. That's the big thing here. But yes, not showing up for a deposition, guys, is a big deal. Don't ever do that. Show up for your court dates. Show up for hearings. If you can't make it, tell somebody. But also don't ask and figure it out like the night before you can't make it. But yes, always show up to your stuff. It never ends well. It never ends well. No, never. Yeah, don't go to court. Yeah, well, no, I do that at your own risk. Do it at your own risk. But we're dealing with Rule 56. We're not doing with Rule 12 anymore, so it's a different type of issue now. The summary judgment is after we've had time to collect evidence. In this case, we have some depositions. We have other evidence there. Stick said I could have had a seizure. Well, yeah. That's not really going to cut it for you. But Vague Whisper for $50 says, thank you, by the way. It says, can you do a stream covering Alex Jones? There's been a lot of shenanigans and it's difficult to gauge what's going on. Never been a fan of him, but it's worth seeing him punished worse than the shooters. Alex Jones got punished worse than Boeing, and Boeing killed 350 people. Yeah, I mean, really, like, the stuff got held up in bankruptcy court, but there are other judgments that have been executed against him. And yeah, we can talk about that. But yeah, things have kind of wrapped up for InfoWars and Freedom Communication Systems, or oh god, whatever he calls his fucking business. So, but yes, that's been a thing there. It's not weird. It's not weird. It's just it's a lot of moving parts in his situation. It's kind of standard. Lucas saying, summary judgment saying, here's a pile of crap on the ground. Can you look at this pile and build it in something that looks like a car? Well, yeah, but here's the deal. With summary judgment, you are now going to the judge saying, Judge, take a look at the evidence we have. We believe that there is no disagreement on any of the material facts, that we agree on all the material facts, and therefore we want you to make a decision. Now, this isn't a joint mode, and that's the thing. The defendant, like Destiny, can move for summary judgment. Pxie could also move for summary judgment right now. But that's always a risk. If you're the plaintiff, you move for summary judgment, you might lose. Or if you're the defendant and you move for summary judgment, the judge might say, okay, yeah, I looked at this case, Destiny, you lose. It's a very risky thing because you're asking the judge to make all or nothing rulings without a jury looking at the case. Oh, what are you guys saying? I'm not gonna. Too much there. They point out, though, the way they start with this, they pointed out that since the beginning, the court lacks subject matter jurisdiction. That's because they're arguing this happened outside the scope of Cardi's enactment. And when it went operative, when Cardi went into effect, they're arguing this happened before that day. And because it happened before that day, it's over. And that's true. If that's the case, it's never able to happen at the federal level. And they say it is now the end of January and discovery is closed. Yep. The plaintiff's opportunity to establish subject matter jurisdiction has come and gone. And they're basically saying, Judge, we think they haven't been able to do it. And they're saying since filing the complaint, plaintiff has failed to establish any evidence to demonstrate Destiny ever transmitted the video to any, in the one she recorded with him in September 2020, to anyone after October 1st, 2022, the date the relevant statute went into effect. And that is the critical date, chat. We talked about it before. You have to get past that line. Otherwise, Cardi is not available to you. If this happened to be September 30th, 2022, it would not be available to her. If it was October 2nd of 2022, it would be available to her. Your beautiful noise says Pxie lawyers are terrible. Well, I said that. I have not been thrilled with them. They've not been doing a very good job. Jefferson Post says, so it assumes all the facts are correct and rules solely focus on law. Yeah, well, you're basically saying, Your Honor, all these facts are correct. Make a ruling who's right, who's wrong. Because we don't need you to find any facts. We just want you to apply the facts to the law and tell us who wins. Now, the thing is, if the other side says, Your Honor, there are issues, there are, material issues in dispute. There are facts in dispute. The court then has to say, well, if you guys disagree, you got to go to trial. Because I can't make that decision if not everybody agrees. If one party thinks there is a dispute, a material fact, well, then we have to keep moving. We can't do this. So even though Destiny's saying it, that doesn't mean he's going to get it. And obviously, spoiler alert, Pxie never agreed to this. So we're not there. There's opposition for all this. As this goes on, though, and they say at first Pxie attempted to argue that Destiny transmitted the video to Rose. Then her amended complaint, they backtracked and alleged they sent the video to Rose sometime in 2022. I don't think it's actually worded that way, but once again, you have a little bit of luxury and leeway with how you want to characterize stuff. The undisputed evidence obtained during discovery establishes the transmission to Rose occurred in April 2022. And if that's when that occurred, Cardi is over. It's out, and if it is the case, then it's done. They also claim, though, that Destiny had sent it to someone else who goes by the name Abby MC. But neither Abby nor her allegations ever materialized. Well, there were. Despite the representations of Abby, they refused to accept a subpoena on her behalf. Well, they don't have to. They delayed providing contact information, and they finally provided an address to service. It was a fake address. Ultimately, Destiny served Abby with a subpoena, but she failed to produce any documents in support of the claims in her declaration. Okay, but she could still make her claims. Remember, doing that is enough. I saw this happened. Do you have any documents to support that? No. Well, your testimony is evidence. And yes, Luke, just saying there's a dispute doesn't make itself a dispute. Correct. But generally speaking, if you can show there's a dispute, the court's going to say, all right, well, I'm not touching this. And they say, and after the preliminary injunction hearing, Pxie admitted under oath she possessed no evidence that Destiny transmitted the video to anyone after the effective date. And this is where they cite from the court, and this is the court asking Pxie, have you seen any transmission yourself or record of a transmission as opposed to what somebody told you that Destiny sent? Have you seen anything yourself? And she says no. Now, they move on from here and they say nearly after a year of litigation, she has still failed to produce any evidence of it. And they say no such evidence exists. So not only did she fail to do it, but she failed because there is no evidence. They're not just saying she failed and she couldn't find it. They end with saying no such evidence exists anyway. In September, Destiny filed a motion to dismiss for subject matter jurisdiction under Rule 12b-1. And guys, remember we talked about this. You could do 12b-1, 12b-2, all the way up to 12b-7. And those are motions to dismiss for procedural issues. Jefferson Post saying, is that I have not pre-discovery? Well, yeah, because if she learned about it after the fact, then the evidence itself in discovery would speak for it. But yes, the preliminary injunction, that's what that's meant for, is do you have any personal knowledge of him directly doing? Can you verify where this happened? And she says, no, I can't. Now this goes on, and they point out that in light of the deadline, in light of the summary judgment filing deadline, which remember the courts will submit all kinds of courts at all kinds of deadlines of dispositive motions, motions and summary judgment, motions and limine. When does discovery close? How that's to all be governed. They renew their arguments in the 12B1 motion, and you renew it. There's nothing wrong with doing that. They submit the motion for summary judgment and supporting documents, and once again, you have evidence now you introduce along with the summary judgment, because the Rule 12B1 motion, guys, that 12B1 motion is literally just the motion by itself, the four corners of the document. We make our arguments. Summary judgment Rule 56, it's the four corners of that document plus whatever garbage you offer. And it goes on to say that to demonstrate beyond, they do this to demonstrate beyond any dispute, he never transmitted the video to Rose, Abby, or anyone else after Cardi went into effect on October 1st, 2022. And because of that, they lack subject matter jurisdiction. And that's true. This is the date that matters. Once again, 10/1 of 22. Now they're claiming, and this, I don't think it's disputed, the video was created in 2020. And we're not going to go back through the history of all this because, they developed a friendship and they began discussing their sex lives. They did a little hippity-dippity. We're not going to get to any more. Yeah, we're not getting through all that. Then they say on April 9th, Destiny sent the video to Solo, who is masquerading as Rose. Remember, there's all kinds of beating your meat for one of your viewers. That's like if I was beating my meat for green caps. Lock. It's like, oof, buddy. That's rough. Rose identified herself as a female college student, and Destiny and Rose formed a relationship online. Soon after meeting, Destiny and Rose shared sexually explicit messages and content with each other. Destiny did not send the video to anyone since he sent it to Rose on April 9th. That's the last time he did it. Over 2 years later, in November, an individual using a screen name Solo published portions of the communications, including the video, on a website called QB Farms. Yes, he did. And then they say on October 3rd, plaintiff claimed to have identified Rose and issued a subpoena to AH, an adult female residing in Rockford, Illinois. And then later on, they deposed her. And yes, AH testified she never messaged or communicated with Destiny, never exchanged photographs or videos with him of any kind. Which, once again, they're going to paint the evidence in their best light possible. And you've never spoken to Destiny ever, correct? She says, no, but then there's also, I don't recall. But remember when she was confronted, there's Destiny said otherwise. Would that make sense to you? And she goes, no. And it says, have you ever corresponded with Destiny ever? And she said, no, I never messaged him. And this is where they go through and you do cite directly from the transcripts. And this is what he's doing here. He's citing from the transcript. And it's, the Bretler Declaration dated January 30th, Exhibit L, at 67 minutes and 13 seconds. This is how they go through this, because it's not 67 hours, chat. That'd be insane. But this is how you demonstrate your evidence. You can cite things that were stated by parties in the case. And they say, in fact, H confirmed their deposition that her abusive older boyfriend, Solo, impersonated her online and catfish Destiny. And it's like, once again, that is a rough argument to make of, well, I guess it was Jefferson Post I was beating off to the whole time. Like, if that's the argument you're going to make, man, that's like calling an artillery strike in on yourself when it's like, what? Like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Hold on one second, chat. I mean, ultimately, yes, it's far less embarrassing and problematic to admit to that than the idea that, oh yeah, she was a minor, so I guess you make that argument. But you're just like, wow, that's a rough argument to make. Oh God, what the fuck? What the hell is going on here, guys? What did you do, chat? What did you do? Like, this is all getting all goobery now. That's so annoying. That's so annoying. And guess we'll have to open it up in Adobe, which is just a pain in the ass to run. Google lets you highlight far easier. Okay, we'll switch over to this here, chat. So they say Destiny transmitted the video depicting Pxie to Rose via Discord. Destiny not send the video anyone sent Rose. We got all that. And we get to the next page. It says that, Solo was a British citizen living in the United Kingdom. She further testified leaked screenshots between Destiny and Solo using the Rose alias appeared in the European date format. That's because Solo resided in the United Kingdom. Okay. And that's part of the argument is that, because remember, in Europe, they do the 13th of October, 2022. Instead of saying, well, actually, they would say, the 11th of, they'd say the 4th of November, 2022. But the way they would write it is different than us. They do the day, then month, then year. We do the month, year, or we do month, day, year. We do it differently. The 10th of Smarch. Jeez. And they ultimately talk about amending to have the issues that Abby come in. They amended their complaint saying that in March 2023, Destiny sent the video to somebody named Abby via Google Drive link. To date, Pxie provided no evidence of the alleged transmission. For example, plaintiff has not even produced a screenshot of any message which was sent this video to Abby. Nor has plaintiff provided proof of the existence of a Google Drive link. I mean, but if Abby can say it happened, that's proof. Now, is that enough proof to survive all the way through? I don't know. And they say, in fact, at the preliminary injunction hearing, she admitted she has no evidence of an actual transmission to Abby or anyone else. Instead, she relies solely on a declaration from Abby, which, remember, chat, that is evidence. That's evidence. It's not physical evidence in that sense, but it's testimonial evidence. Remember, testimony is evidence. What a witness tells you is evidence. It's evidence just as much as a bloody knife is or a bag of drugs. Those are all evidence. This is a little different. This picographic evidence. Well, jeez, you guys are... No, that's not the point that we're making here, that you need that. That's not the point. Also, I just thought I heard thunder. Let me see here. Is there anything coming our way? Oh, it's not here yet. Oh, that's not getting here until like tomorrow. Okay. If you're in Chicago, get ready, man, because it's about to cream you. So, sorry, I had to check that because I thought I heard some rumbling outside. And it says, Abby wrote to a third party, I have videos of fucking Cherry. And Cherry's another girl that's all part of the Destiny universe. And Pxie, like LMFAO. He just sent me another one, haven't even opened it, which, Destiny's the type of guy who does those kind of things, so. What are the oranges for? Yes. What are the oranges for? They then claim that Pxie obstructed access to Abby MC. Now, this is more of a summary judgment. This is also kind of a sanctions argument, too. They're arguing, though, for 6 months, they stymied the efforts to subpoena her. And they say they also refuse to accept service on her behalf. Well, if they're not her attorney, they're not. They say, notwithstanding that, Abby publicly acknowledged her awareness of the subpoena and deliberate avoidance of service, which, once again, chat, don't do things like that. I mean, don't try to duck subpoenas necessarily. I understand if you don't want to be involved in a court case. But when you start taunting and doing this shit, you help out the person. You help out that party that's trying to serve you. And during the live stream that aired in September 2025, Abby stated that Pxie's counsel advised her to continue evading service while continuing to submit evidence. Once again, if that's true, that is really fucking bad. Now, here's the thing, though. If Abby's lying, that's also really bad because that undermines your credibility. So either way, those questions are not helpful. Where does Fudbusters live? Orlando. So I'll be near Fudbusters. So, and they say after repeated request, what the hell just happened here? They say after repeated request, they provided Abby's last known address. They also requested Abby's email address, but it was refused to be provided. Eventually, they couldn't find any habitable structure at the address that the Pxie's counsel provided for Abby. They sent another email requesting the correct contact information a week later. They provided the most recent telephone number for Abby. They texted her, used a copy of the subpoena using the phone number that was provided. They received no response. Now, you might say, is that effective service, texting it? Actually, that's going to be it sometimes. There's only so much you can do in these situations. So, is that an ineffective service? No. Probably not. And I don't think the court should consider that well, at this point, I don't think they did consider it an effective service. Number one, the person knows about it. Number two, you don't have any other way of getting a hold of them. And merely publishing in a newspaper, like, that shit's all dead. We texted it to her, Your Honor, because we don't have any other means of getting it to her. I think that's actually a very valid way of doing it. That's kind of what you have to do. Are we going to get Clyde a little gator outfit? No. I don't want people to think he's an alligator. He might get killed by clavicular. They once again asked for Abby's email address in November, 4 days later, saying they had no obligation to provide that information. And then they say counsel then provided a valid address for Abby. And it says Abby failed to produce any documents responsive. So ultimately, they immediately took steps to serve Abby with a subpoena. They requested documents of the purported transmission of the video. Now they say despite being reminded of the subpoena, she failed to produce any documents or otherwise respond. Okay, well that's, if you don't have anything responsive to the subpoena, you say we have no documents responsive to that request. Plaintiff has no documents responsive to that request. Witness has no documents responsive to that request. Say, I got nothing that matches that. I don't have anything. And that's an acceptable answer. And they say now that this deadline is passed, they should be precluded from relying on any new documents, reported evidence from Abby. And the untested declaration should be given no legal weight. Well, Destiny transmitting, you never sent the video to Abby. Destiny is given each and every media file he submitted to Abby. But has he really? Has he really? Yes. Remember, Destiny's kind of done that, homebrewed data table he put together. So is that really credible? I don't know. I would argue it's not. And I don't think a court's going to like the fact that the only person who could vouch for the authenticity of the data is Destiny himself. And there's no way to independently verify any of it. Like, that's a big, big problem here. I'm going to be an FSU fan. Absolutely not. Chat, I will be right back. I have to go to the bathroom. So I'm going to see if you guys can hang tight 1 second. I got to go. Nature's calling really bad. I'm just going to put this up for 1 second, and then I will be right back because I have a bathroom. Okay.
Not today. Not today. Not yet.
All right,
you're
chat.
not cooked.
I'll leave this
and
here
no
just
cooking
because
here.
it's something.
Nobody's cooked, but you guys are all
Watch the
under
tornadoes.
y'all
I'll be right
watch,
back, guys.
And what
Sorry,
that
I
means
can't
is
wait.
We're trying to give you a little bit of early heads up on what might end up being a tornado warning here. So get ready. It's coming. A larger severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for Waukegan down to Evanston, Cook and Lake counties. Everybody in here needs to be getting ready for 70-mile-per-hour winds. 70-mile-per-hour winds coming into Waukegan, Schaumburg, Evanston, Arlington Heights, Palatine, and Skokie. We got places like the Glenview Terrace in the path, the Lutheran Home for the Aged, also the Warren Bar Lieberman area. Also, this was just canceled because of this. The Bella Kane concert, the Midwest's hottest country band. That was supposed to happen out here right in the path of this storm in about 30 minutes, but they just canceled it. Racine, Milwaukee, your storm's moving out. Okay, Milwaukee, you're finished. The storm's out to the lake now. South Milwaukee, you're done. You're fine. Racine, some of the stronger winds are now going to be moving into your neck of the woods, but the dangerous rotating part of the storm is now moving out to sea or out to lake, whatever, out to water. So I would stay sheltered, though, especially in Racine and Kenosha for the next 9 minutes, and then you'll definitely be good. You'll definitely be good. You're good in Waukesha, Mukwonago, Elkhorn, Delavan, Menominee Falls. You guys are all fine. It's over for the night. You could go to sleep, technically. Rockford, same for you. Janesville, you guys are all fine. We're now starting to be a little bit more concerned for your neighbors to the east. Waukegan, Arlington Heights, Evanston, Schaumburg, Geneva, Wheaton, Naperville, Chicago, Aurora, Joliet, Morris, Ottawa. All these places are next in line here. Additionally, we still have a tornado warned storm hammering Peoria, Illinois right now. Some of the stronger winds are coming into Peoria currently. And then we had some rotation go through Pekin, and now it's going towards Morton. Morton, you guys need to be in your safe spots. We've got a view of it coming in now. Look at this. You can clearly see the shelf cloud now. This is a live view of the storm that's coming out of Peoria and towards Morton in Washington County, Illinois. What a monster of a storm. And again, we've seen power flashes on this. And power flashes, it doesn't always mean that we've got a tornado, right? Sometimes it means that we've just got some strong straight line damaging winds, but there's a tornado warning on this for a reason, right?
A new tornado warning has been issued.
Holy smokes. Andy nailed it again. We got a new tornado warning out here in the Algonquin area. So literally right on top of where Andy put that early warning out. We've got the official warning from the National Weather Service for Lake and McHenry counties. Wow.
Sorry, chat. My stomach was hurting really bad. I was like, oh, we better go take care of that. Yeah, so is how everyone's weekend. Well, you guys are getting 2 to 3 inches of snow tonight? Cool. Cool. Well, I'm back. Sorry, guys. I couldn't wait. My tummy rumbled. My tummy was like, you better take care of that. What do you mean by the court will be mad about the evidence? Where did I say they'll be mad about the evidence? No, like I think the court will say like this is evidence they can use. Who is supposed to vouch or independently verify it? Well, like the court's going to say, "Oh, I get what you're saying." The court's going to look at Destiny and say, "You're the only person who can validate the evidence you put together." So it's not like an independent party could come through, verify Destiny's data, and say, "Yup, this is legitimate data. It hasn't been touched." You know, like Pxie tried to get a person to come in and say, "I looked at this data forensically, and you can't really make heads or tails of parts of it." That's what I mean as far as what can the court look at. The court's gonna be like, "Fuck, I can't do anything with this." Like, what do you mean you want me to look at this? You're the one who made it. Like, I can't just take your word for it. Just say, "Trust me, bro." It should be something you can independently verify. That's, one of the key foundations of the forensic stuff. And it's Destiny's recreation in the chat. Yeah, sorry. I think that's going to be a problem for Destiny, trying to say like, "Oh, here's my stuff." It's very much in a similar way, kind of like with Smash JT, where he's provided a bunch of stuff to Alyssa Mercanti's team. It's been provided in a method where you kind of yank it all off Twitter. Well, it's in a document form and a data form that could be checked and inspected. What Destiny's kind of cabrafobbled together, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. The problem is there's no indicia of reliability attached to it. Whereas if we pulled your data out and there's hashes and there's things within it that could be independently verified by some IT expert, we don't have that here with this thing. So, and maybe I shouldn't say mad, but the court's going to be like, "I can't fucking use this or rely on it. Those aren't fair. Like, those aren't reliable." I think those are... Destiny doesn't need to provide evidence. Well, part of your argument saying I could prove that this hasn't, like, the dates and all the date filings. I have proof this didn't happen the way it is being alleged, or that it happened outside of the date window. I mean, if you have that and you're offering this thing that looks like you put it together in fucking Microsoft Paint, that is a problem. That's a big problem. Because if the judge looks at it and he doesn't trust you and say this date time thing isn't correct, and he thinks the whole thing with Rose being scared by some fucking retard out in England is true, and that there's apparently contradicting evidence of whether Destiny's talked to Rose or not, he could say, "Well, no summary judgment. This case continues on." And he says it appears they've satisfied the jurisdictional amount. Like, he can make a determination they've done it. He's not the one making the claim. Yes, but the problem is if you're trying to say that's not true and you do a poor job at saying that's not true, you've now drawn attention to like that you're not correct and that your evidence isn't reliable and that Pxie's might be reliable. Like, if you're going to offer evidence, it's got to be good. That's the thing here. When you don't have an obligation. But if you're going to jump in there and wade into an issue and say, "I've got evidence," and then your evidence is a flaming pile of turds, should you really be offering that? Because now there's just a flaming pile of turds on the floor. And it didn't have to be there. It didn't have to be there. That's the issue. I mean, because when your case starts looking bad, you can give, like, it makes Pxie's look more credible. Especially if it looks like he cobbled it together himself. And it looks weird, and it looks like it's cut and pasted. Yeah, it looks, that's... you want the judge to find you credible and say, "Judge, my arguments are correct. I have credible evidence on my side." And then you present that. Well, that hurts your arguments you're making. That's the thing. If they don't think you're credible now, I mean, you wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want that. Like, you understand what I'm getting at, right? And yeah, that's ultimately the thing here. You didn't have to dump that pile of burning dog shit on the floor. Could have left it alone. Yeah, but compared to the Abby MC stuff, that's really all there is. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Just let that, like, I think that if you wanted to challenge that, there might be enough there that it can't stand on its own. But now the judge is trying, instead of looking at this kind of rickety case, you've got this big pile of dog shit next to it that's on fire. Like, you just made him, like, not look at that, and now he's looking at this. When he could have just looked at that and said, yeah, this is a shitty case, it loses. Is that requiring you having a bar card? Huh? So I think Destiny blamed his lawyers for looking like shit too, at least the OCR transcription parts. I mean, if he did that, I don't know. It seems like they would take the time to make sure that's right. I would just make sure that's, like, as right as you can make it. And for the amount of money he's paying, that seems like that's something his attorney should be able to make sure is, like, good to go. And Destiny's not an idiot either. So him and his attorneys working together, there had to be a way to make sure that that looks proper. And I just don't know. Don't know why they didn't do it. Don't know why they didn't do it. A pile of turds in Jeremy's basement. He pees in his basement. He doesn't poop in his basement, chat. Be nice to the man. Be factually accurate. All right? Be factually accurate. That's all I'm asking here for. Do not lie. Do not lie, chat. Do not lie. All right, let's keep going here. Now that I'm back, and nobody asked if I washed my hands. Why didn't you? They say the original file name appears nowhere because he never sent the video. Moreover, as further reflected, he sent Abby just 2 Google Drive links, neither of which contained a video depicting the plaintiff, but instead depicted another woman who uses a screen name Peach. Once again, that's according to Destiny, because this is all information Destiny has provided. There's no independent, like if he had an IT guy of his own come in and say, yep, this is all factually accurate, great. Like, that would actually help a lot. Now, we already know you don't wash your hands. Do I wipe front to back or back to front? Well, isn't that like, that only really matters if you're a woman, though, ultimately. Or just one mummy wrap swipe. You mean just wrap it up and just like, I use a bidet. Like, I'm civilized. 2.0 show me the joys of that, and it's amazing. It's amazing. It's a bidet with a heated seat and everything. It's like, it's so nice. It's so nice. Dude wipes. Okay. Oh, geez. Do people actually wipe their, like, I get wiping your ass crack with that and like wiping your, like your groin and your creases and all that with a dude wipe. But do people actually wipe their ass with dude wipes? That just sounds, I mean, like, doesn't the like minty menthol smell on them burn people's assholes? Oof, that just sounds rough. That sounds rough, though. Air dried balls. Yeah, I'm not a big. He has a towel on the counter. I take a good says no crustiness later. No, because it's a water. It wipes it, like the water cleans it off. Like it washes it. You wash your butt. Like it's like it's you wipe left to right. How white is your ass? How would that work? I don't understand. People are being deliberate too. So you're wiping in and out or side to side. Guys are awful. How many enemas do you take a day? Elvis used washcloths. Yeah, but Elvis did whatever. Elvis was the king. Okay, he could do whatever he wanted. It's like a windshield wiper. Oh my god. Stace says, I want the fancy programmable bidet. Well, I don't know what we have, but it's very nice. It's got the little remote and everything. Nick's like, it strengthens your sphincter. Oh God, that's not a pot. Like that's not something I've ever considered. Why would you consider that? Yeah, the king died on his throne. Yes. All right, moving on, guys. It's Rule 56, summary judgment. What's the legal standard here? You can have to. The court can grant it if you could show there is no genuine dispute as to any material fact, and you're entitled to summary judgment as a matter of law. Now, parties could jointly agree, or if you do a convincing enough argument, but that's kind of hard if the other party says there are issues of material fact that are in dispute. There are facts that we don't agree on. Here's what we don't agree on. That's generally going to kill it. But you can get a joint, like we both agree, and we want you to make a decision. They say a dispute is genuine. A reasonable jury can return a verdict for the non-moving party, which in this case is Pxie. And remember, it's just like Rule 12b-6. You look at the evidence most favorable in light to the non-moving party. You draw reasonable inferences in their favor, especially if they're not agreeing. And the fact is material if it might affect the outcome of the suit under the governing substantive law. And they say entry of summary judgment is adequate after adequate time for discovery. And this is important because we mentioned this here because we've seen a couple of cases where one side's asked for summary judgment, but discovery is still ongoing or it just started. The court's like, it's too early. I'm denying it for now, but you have the opportunity to raise it later. And this is not that time. Discovery's over. We're through that part. Let's move on. They say, and upon motion, a party fails to make a showing sufficient to establish the existence of an element on which the part. Sorry. Entry of summary judgment appropriate after adequate time for discovery and upon motion against a party who fails to make a showing sufficient to establish the existence of an element essential to that party's case and on which the party will bear the burden of proof at trial. I mean, you have to show that they, if you're showing they can't meet one element of a case, it gets summary judgment. So at that point, you could say, look, all the facts are here and they can't meet all their elements. Summary judgment. And that's Celotex Corp. That's another big one in the civil procedure world. That's one of the greatest hits from the Supreme Court. They say ultimately it's the moving party's initial burden to demonstrate the basis, and it must identify the record where it believes that there's an absence of a genuine issue of fact. Now, they're going to say all the things we cited from the deposition transcripts are absent of dispute because that's what she said. It says exactly that. Now, both sides that we've seen this before, they go back and forth and say, no, that's not what it says. It says this, or there's more space dust on it. We've heard that before as this goes. Now, we're getting to the legal standards here, but this is where they go to point out there is no dispute. And you might say that's a lot to write, but you're bolding it, you're underlining it, that's your heading, and you're just making clear the court sees it. And it's like, listen, dummy. And Destiny's saying there's no dispute that the Destiny sold transmission to Rose preceded the affected date of Cardi by nearly 6 months. And that's where we get to the issue of, is it European date format or not? What is the proper things for it? Because remember, count one is Cardi, and it's the sole basis for the federal jurisdiction here because the rest of these are state law claims. Now, they're saying that, Destiny transmitted the video on just one occasion to an individual who used a screen name Rose. So what does that mean ultimately Destiny's even admitting to? He is saying at this point, basically, yes, I did it, but I did it outside the scope of the law. Basically, it's like a statute of limitations argument reverse. That I'm outside the applicable window the law covers. So I did this before it became a cause of action. And the law doesn't allow for you to retroactively go after me. So basically, Destiny gets to go neener. Yes, I did it. And if I had done it a year later, yes, you could find me liable. But I was just sorry. Haha, I was a shitbag at a different time. Which, if that's a defense. Sorry, the law doesn't cover my actions for the time frame you're looking at. That could be true. For example, if Florida introduces a crime and Destiny's crime is, mowing his yard with a clown wig on. I know he lives in an apartment. Just work with me on this. And the state of Florida says that's illegal going forward from July 4th, 2026. You can no longer do that. And Destiny on July 1st did it. But the law doesn't, you can't punish people for conduct like that. So yes, Destiny's saying, yes, I did it. But the law does not cover that time frame. Basically was arguing here. Lewis saying, so he hasn't admitted to the crime, even if it's in the statute range. Well, remember, it's not an argument of this is a crime. Because remember, I haven't even touched on the issue of a crime. I was just saying if this was a easier to understand criminal context is if Florida criminalized certain conduct and he did it before the law went into effect, he's not going to be liable for doing that action. And he's saying here, I did that thing, but even if you could prove I did that thing, and I'll stipulate that I did it before the law, the time period the law covers. There's still an implied consent thing. I think that's a little, I understand that there's a little bit of an issue there with that, but I think at the end of the day, a reasonable jury could find there was an implied consent. So if Destiny clears all those hurdles, yes, could he make the implied consent argument at trial? And I don't know if we're even going to get there, but let's say it goes to trial. Could Destiny make the argument of implied consent? 100%. Would a jury agree with him on that? I don't know. It's not a good look if you're having to make that argument, especially if you don't have explicit consent. Yes, it's still his defense, and the judge seems to acknowledge that during his hearing. Yeah, no, it's still his defense, but even let's say there was no implied consent is my point. Let's say this is 100% Destiny just did whatever the fuck he wanted. This conduct would be outside of it, even if it is wrong and nasty and mean. It's just not covered, is the point I was trying to get at. But that's a very good question, the way you could ask that. Could Destiny flee to Israel to escape the lawsuit and possible charges? He's not facing any criminal charges, guys. And I said this before. If this wasn't Destiny, you guys would not be sitting here saying there should be charges for it. I think the idea that we charge people for revenge porn is a little ridiculous. I think there are, statutes against harassment and other things that are out there, I think operate well enough. I don't think there needs to be more laws that criminalize people's conduct like that in this situation. Maybe Fuentes mowed Destiny's lawn. I mean, I don't know. I know I know the allegation is Destiny and Nick Fuentes were, going at it, but I mean, let's be real. Nick Fuentes probably did it. It's Nick Fuentes after all. And they say ultimately, the evidence shows that this happened 6 months before the data took effect. They're saying Pxie has presented no evidence to dispute that fact. And this is the problem, though. They're relying on that evidence, and it's like, that evidence isn't very, that evidence has its own problems. The Discord logs between Destiny and Rose, who turned out to be solo. Once again, we're acknowledging all this happening. It's like, it's a horrible fucking position to be in. Conclusively established Destiny transmitted the video on April 9th. Once again, does it? I don't think that's conclusive. I think there's a lot of questions because of the quality of the evidence before it. If that was in a more scientific or forensically based format, sure. But once again, as I said, it looks like it's fabricable, by Destiny. And if that's an issue of OCRing didn't work or how it formatted, I mean, goddamn, that should have been. I can't believe nobody sat there and said, fuck, we have to fix this. And I can't imagine this is unless they did it all at the last minute, which, okay, it's the law, that happens a lot, that they didn't have enough time to figure this out. Once again, I give Destiny credit. He's not an idiot. Like, he's not a complete idiot. And they say because Solo was located in the United Kingdom, we don't actually know that. We don't actually know that. They claim it's in the European format, day, month, year. Like I said, we do month, day, year. So they say, thus the entry says 10/4/2022, which corresponds to April 10th, not October 4th. Because if it's October 4th, that gets Pxie across the timeline. And they say, by comparison, these ones from Destiny located in Florida display the transmission date of 4/9/2022. Now, we don't know, though, because we don't know where he got all these things, what's been pulled, how things have been pulled, where they actually all came from. He says these came from Rose, and he says all this, but we don't know. We truly don't know. Can you backtrace all of that? Probably not on Discord. I don't think Discord's records are that good. I don't think they're that good that they would track all that. That would be an insane amount of storage and power they would need. They say, after Destiny sent the video, he continued to communicate with Rose on Discord. That corresponds between Solo using the alias Rose. I like how they won't just say he got catfish and was gooning to Solo. And Destiny confirms that further communications are displayed in the European date format. For example, Destiny texted Rose just streaming, and that's date 4/14/22. Obviously, there are no 14 months. Not even in Europe, they don't count like that. Not even the... there's no calendar that goes like that. At best, Discord would have audit logs and message metadata for stuff he deleted. I wonder if it would have that. They're saying the evidence shows that Destiny transmitted the Rose video to Rose on a single day, 6 months before it took effect. And they say because it preceded the date, there's no subject matter jurisdiction the court should dismiss. No admissible transmission, no admissible evidence of the transmitting of the video to Abby exists. Now, this is where you get to an issue. The false. I mean, are they false? I don't know if they're false. Uncorroborated. I mean, if we're talking about uncorroborated, I mean, I'll leave that alone. And the untested claims in Abby's declaration are controverted by the evidence that actually exists. Pxie can't identify a material issue of disputed fact by relying on anything contained in Abby's declaration. And yes, and this is the thing. You must point to more than some evidence. You have to show evidence that is significant. You can't just say, and this is where they talk about the mere existence of a scintilla of evidence in support of your position is insufficient. And that's also like the smallest little bit. Okay, well, that's in doubt. That's not enough. You have to show there's some material facts in dispute. It doesn't have to be all of them, but it's got to be enough that if the jury heard it, they can say, yeah, we think you're right, Pxie. He's wrong. So it's obviously a little more than that. Time is saying, aren't most online services required to keep the records for 5 years? Yeah, but I don't know if they're like, but the records don't mean like literally everything. That's what the NSA does. And Edward says, I've noticed Destiny's lawyers are willing to go full Russell Greer to try to win. No, they have not. They might bend the facts in the most favorable way for themselves, but I haven't seen anything indicate Destiny's lawyers have done anything unethical or illegal at all. I've not seen any of that unethical or illegal conduct. They're playing hard nosed. You know, they're up on the fucking line, jamming up picks, like, you know, to cornerback up on the line of scrimmage, jamming up a fucking wide receiver. It's business, man. Their job is to represent their client and zealously represent him. So they're going to go hard in the paint. That's their job. I'd be more upset if they didn't. But no, they're doing their thing. They're doing their thing, and that's nothing that you should be expecting that. Edward says it's not true. Well, I mean, that's at some point when you start arguing about factual issues, because the law is pretty clear how the law gets applied. Nobody's questioning how Cardi gets applied or what do the words in Cardi mean. Nobody's questioning any of that. This is really right now we are in a factual issue. What facts can be adduced? Sometimes there's issues fighting over the law. But in this situation, it's about what facts do we have? And yeah, that's when it comes down to what evidence is credible, what facts are right. People are going to go, that's not true. But that's what you have to say. There's no other way. Like, we respectfully disagree with the veracity of the allegation, like the verbiage made. Like, no, you just like, it's bullshit, Judge. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to do that. They're helping. Chet says they're helping Tiny with his Pxie is a hoe narrative. Who is? Who's helping Pxie? I mean, yeah, it's well. And they say they point out the 11th Circuit. Remember, we're in Florida, so the 11th Circuit. This is strictly applied. And the evidence can be merely colorable or not significantly probative. It's got to be probative. It's got to be serious. You have to be significant probative evidence demonstrating the existence of a triable issue of fact. And that triable issue of fact has to be significant. That if the jury hears it, could they rule for Pxie? That's the standard. Destiny loves to be probe. Jeez. Okay. So ultimately, he's saying we never transmitted the video to Abby at any time. They're claiming that this is all being bootstrapped in. Oh my God, what is They say apparently Pxie fails to establish any evidence that Destiny ever sent the video to Abby or to anyone. Now, Destiny's logs show he never transmitted to Abby at any time. Once again, how credible are Destiny's logs? And that becomes an issue. They say these logs capture every media file ever sent to Abby, according to Destiny. The original file name of the video was revealed when Solo uploaded to Kiwi Farms without authorization. It says, by contrast, the files that Destiny had bear different names. And we've gone through a lot of this issue here. They also say that this establishes Destiny and put it on the Google Drive. And if he did share those links, it was to somebody named Peach, and they don't depict Pxie. Which, once again, just shows you Destiny does this shit all the time. He's just wheeling and dealing nudes. It's like, this is more of a, I guess, philosophy point of, if you do this all the time, should you be really surprised that you end up getting sued? No. Maybe this is an indication of you probably shouldn't engage in this conduct. But I'm a Scandinavian incel prude, so what do I know? But it's amazing if he didn't do all this degenerate shit, he wouldn't have been sued, and he wouldn't have had to spend probably north of, $750,000 at this point defending himself. Like, this would have been a lot smarter for him. That's just saying. That's just something to think about, chat. Just something to think about there. They say the entirety of Destiny's relevant logs have been filed with the court. The video appears nowhere in those logs, and for good reason. Well, according to him. Destiny never transmitted video to Abby at any time. Pxie cannot proffer admissible evidence to dispute that fact. And guys, remember, proffer is just saying offer it and, be able to basically explain any evidence there. Abby fails to support the claims of her declaration. And they point out as part of her Rule 26 disclosures, and that's where you can serve subpoenas on people, Pxie identified Abby as a potential witness and submitted a declaration. They made it exceedingly difficult to test the statements contained in the declaration. And they say the attorneys first, and they go through all this saying we couldn't find her, they wouldn't help us. Now they're arguing, though, they were prevented from testing the veracity of her claims, and they're saying that should warrant exclusion. And this is true of the rules of civil procedure. You must, without awaiting a request, provide to the parties the name, if known, the address and telephone numbers of individuals likely to have discoverable information. Yes. You must also supplement disclosures at appropriate intervals. Yeah. I have a case right now where my client just said, hey, I found some pictures. I was digging through one of my old phones and I found some pictures of the thing we're dealing with. I had said before, we didn't have anything for that topic. I looked at them and they're helpful to us too. Number one, they're helpful to us. Number two, they are what was requested by the other side. So I'm going to, we're going to go ahead on Monday. I'm going to, get that all together and send it over and say, look, here's a supplemental disclosure. It happens. They say, indeed, courts routinely exclude evidence submitted in connection with summary judgment due to Rule 26 motions, Rule 26 violations. Yeah, and it can. Remember, guys, if you fuck around discovery, things can be stricken. You can be, kind of like in JT's case, you're probably going to have attorney's fees. But also, if you want to offer certain things, you might be precluded. Your evidence might be stricken, and you might not be allowed to offer some things. There's different ways the court can punish you for that. So, once again, remember, following the rules, if you do it, as long as you follow the rules, you're generally going to be okay. You're generally going to be okay. So close to Rule 34. Well, there's also a Rule 37, a job well done, that gets involved here. There is a Rule 37. So, they cite some cases here that back up their thing. We're not going through the case law. We don't need to read through that. Obviously, they're citing cases that say we should be allowed to have Abby excluded. And if Abby's excluded, Pixie's toast. And I think, that's going to be the truth. If the judge discounts Abby, that's it for Pxie. And I think we talked about this before. When Pxie was trying to get leave to put Abby in the lawsuit. Without Abby, Pixie's I don't know how Pxie proves it. And Abby is that linchpin. And I think, Lou, you were mentioning that too. I agree. Like, without Abby, that's kind of it. Follow the rules or be found in default for the GDP of Belgium. Well, I'm serious though. If you know the rules of civil procedure, and like I said, Destiny's attorneys have done phenomenally well at doing all this stuff. That's the one thing I will say. They've done a great job, and it's put him in a very good position. Destiny did the one thing most law cows usually fuck up. He didn't do it. He went out and got good counsel. A lot of law cows get law cow lawyers. Destiny went out and got very good fucking lawyers. So that actually helps him a lot. No matter what happens, Andrew Brettler is the biggest winner in this case. Of course he is. That motherfucker made all kinds of money on it. Yes, the attorney always wins. The attorneys are like the house in gambling. The house always wins. Yes, the attorneys always get paid. So once again, they talk about Abby evading service. We're going through all that. We're not really going to hit that all up again. And they're saying, though, her declarations don't establish a genuine dispute of material fact. And they say Abby cannot submit any evidence Destiny transmitted the video. And saying, indeed, had such a transmission occurred, it would appear in both their logs. But remember, Destiny's logs are not really in a way you can verify them. So what do you do? Now, does Abby have her original logs? Doesn't sound like it, or it doesn't sound like they have a way of verifying it. I think people were saying for a while Abby was like homeless and wandering around. So does she even have like a phone and access to all that crap? So But ultimately, they're going to make the arguments here, the same things we've already talked about these before, talked about it above. There's nothing in the Google Drives that show any of this. And they're saying the court should decline to exercise supplemental jurisdiction over the remaining of this. And this is something courts can do. Generally speaking, if you have just one federal claim and other state law claims, the court generally dismisses the case because it has no jurisdiction over them. There are times where courts can keep what's called supplemental jurisdiction over those state law claims. They can do it. Now, the thing is, and this is the case, though, in Gibbs, if the federal claims are dismissed before a trial, the state claims should be as well. And notice the district courts may decline, meaning it's discretionary. If they've dismissed all claims over which it has original jurisdiction, which is Cardi. So they can get rid of it. They don't have to keep it. And honestly, the court's going to be like, I don't want to fucking deal with this. So if Destiny wins this, it's going to get kicked out of federal court. I don't see the judge being motivated or wanting to keep this. I mean, certainly he wouldn't. And think about if you were the judge, would you want to keep this? No. You're going to pull that grenade. You can pull a pin on that grenade and throw that in some other, like, you go throw that at the state court. Throw that into state court and let them deal with it there. Lolcow Lawyers, is that what I'm going to call the new law firm down there? That would be... Yeah, that's not what I'm going to do. It's not what I'm going to do. They move on here and they say, ultimately, Destiny should get a motion for summary judgment. You're like, all right, yeah, motion for summary judgment. Like, I think it's well put together. I think, they go through it and they establish what they want to do here. Let me see. Do I have from here? Obviously, and I forgot, before we get too far, we need to, because people asked me, what are these? Where is? Yeah, this notice of 90 days expiring thing here. People have asked me what this is about, because there's a couple times this pops up. And where this pops up, you guys, just so you understand, this is something you file. Both sides have filed these. And it's nothing super special, but you just come into court, you file a notice of 90 days expiring. And they submit a notice pursuant to local rule, and the local rules say you have to do this. You submit the following notice that 90 days have elapsed since the parties fully briefed a motion. Now, what does that mean, parties fully briefed? Remember, you have the party makes a motion, the movement. There's a response. They reply back. They make, they respond. And then you get the reply to that response. So remember, it's a very limited dance. It should be 3 motions or 3 filings relating to a motion topic. There's the motion, the response, and then the reply. And then from there, the judge should make a ruling. And they're just saying, Your Honor, it's been 90 days. They point out we did this one on December 4th. There was a supplement December 8th. The defendants replied on December 17th. We replied back by December 29th. No hearing has been held or scheduled. And it's just their way of just saying, hey, judge, just don't forget about us. It's like, and that's the other thing you see with these like lolcow lawsuits. This starts happening a lot, but it's not only them. It's not just them. Straight to the judge's trash bin. No, this is actually, they're doing it pursuant to local rules. They're doing this pursuant to local rules. So they're not just like making crap up. They're doing it according to the rules they have in front of them. They're doing it to the rules they have in front of them. Now, from here, we're going to breeze through this for Pxie, because we're just going to get to what Pxie says. Because notice, one of you guys is saying, well, the other side just goes, that's not true. Guess what Pixie's going to say in her response to summary judgment? That's not true. This is how it works, because you're down to the factual issues now. You're down to the factual issues. So what did Pxie do? Well, she filed a motion to, don't tell me this. Oh God, it doesn't too. Damn it. What is going on in court, listener? Like every other time, this crap works. And now for some reason, it's all just being garbaged up. I cleaned out my cache too. I didn't know if that was some problem with it. So here we go. I don't know, man. I don't know, chat. I just don't know. I just don't know. So they point out here, and this is an issue, they want a motion. They're responding saying, judge, deny it. Or they want to defer the motion for summary judgment. So they're asking for a little bit different thing here. They're asking, well, judge, or put it off. They say material discovery remains outstanding, including critically the deposition of the defendant. Lou, you're saying the judge has never delayed a ruling more than 6 months before. Yes, I've seen that too about him, but has come close a few times in this case. The judge was getting mad at the amount of motion practice here. I mean, this isn't like a Russell Greer Harden situation. I think the motion practice in this is pretty, it's pretty intense for a case, but it's not unnecessary. I think both sides are clearly doing this in good faith. They're both pretty, they're both capable legal teams. So it's not just like one side's churning out hot garbage and the other side's being forced to respond. I think these sides are both going at it pretty well. So I don't think this is a, if he was getting mad, Lou, the judge can also do something. The judge can also do something here. Joe says, you might have a memory resource issue. Yeah, but it's, I don't know. The judge can do something, and there's a couple cases I've seen this before. The judge just merely goes up to the parties in a motion in a court order and says, stop. S-O-T-P. To quote the great Reverend Dr. Robert L. McKim Sr., S-O-T-P, stop. If you get that joke, great. He could tell them no more filings for right now. That happens every once in a while. There's a case or two I've seen where that has happened, before. The court has a right to stop it. A lot of 90 days on this one, yeah. The judge seems to have ignored this for months on end. Yes, I'm sure that this one, it's not the only case he's got, but I'm also sure every time this has come up to the top of his pile, he's probably been and goes and lets this sit at the bottom and work its way to the top. And he's like, I'll worry about that later. When it comes back up, he's like, touche. And then he waits for it to come back up. I wouldn't be obviously it's not exactly like that. But that's part of the issue of, I'm sure this judge is sitting there just thinking, oh my fucking God, what is these, it's going to be an older judge anyway. If it's like, what is wrong with these fucking people? Lou says, I think both these judges are doing Trump stuff right now. I know Eileen Cannon's doing a lot of Trump stuff, but I don't know about this judge. Could that be a problem? Well, yeah, if you've got something involving Trump going down, you're like, okay, yeah, it's my primary focus. But these cases, if you go to court, I've been in cases before, and you show up there, you're there for, criminal stuff, civil stuff, and you hear the judge and the staff talking about oh my God, we had that deposition this morning, or, oh my gosh, we had a conference on whatever. And they're like, Jesus Christ, this is awful. And you're like, oh, what happened, judge? And you could chuckle a little bit about it. And they're like, oh, you can't believe what just happened in this case. This could easily be one of those where the judge just judge is sitting there at home every night, just thinking about this case, going ah! He could. But yes, there's a million different reasons why this is happening. So they say plaintiff has acted diligently in prosecuting her claims. I don't really. I'll be fair and say I don't really think you have. I don't think you've done a very good job at prosecuting your claims. I don't think you've done a very good job at prosecuting your claims. I think there's a lot that could have been done better on the front end of this that would have made things far more effective. So I will say that's not true, and Destiny could probably make a very good argument that you haven't been. The inability to complete discoveries through no fault of plaintiff. Like, well, on some things, yes, but like getting Melina, Destiny's ex-wife. The idea you guys didn't know that right off the bat, and you've been fucking around for months on end with that one. I think that's actually your fault. Now, they point out Destiny's deposition is necessary to rebut the assertions he didn't disclose the video to Abby MC, and that his disclosure Rose did not render the video continuously accessible. That is a big one. And that's, like we're talking about, like, oh, Pxie missed the thing. It's like, in Destiny has not been deposed. And remember, guys, this is being filed back in February. It's like, that's kind of an issue. It's kind of an issue. This is important, though. Remember, they're going to paint the facts in the most favorable light to them. Destiny's document production is deficient and reflects indicia of alteration and improper preservation. Once again, whether or not it's true how he did these things, people are going to look at it and say it looks all cabrifobbled. Or fabricobbled. It looks like chicken shits and stucco. So yeah, that is a problem for Destiny. And they say we've had to do further discovery, including a motion to compel and potential spoliation relief, which I don't think you're going to get. It's just he doesn't have any fucking records and tried to put together a record. I mean, the idea that he's claiming he deleted stuff, sure, that may get you a little bit, but I don't think that's going to be enough. Pxie's been able to pursue such relief to date due to defendants' lack of cooperation and conduct has impeded discovery efforts. And this goes back to, and Lou, I don't know if you've been here the whole time, but the earlier parts of this where they were complaining that they were worried Destiny was destroying evidence and spoiling evidence. But at that point, they hadn't asked for any requests for production. They hadn't requested any documents or electronically stored information. They just ran to the judge and said, oh my God, judge, he's deleting everything. They never asked for anything. So they fucked around for like a month or two, not asking for anything when they thought it was happening. The moment you're in a case and you are getting ready to serve a request for production and discovery, and you learn that the other side's doing it, you got to fucking go. Get that discovery request out, and then you can argue spoliation. Because technically, if you never ask for discovery, he's never spoliated. Because if you never asked for it, he could sit there and delete it all and run his hard drives over a magnet, and that's it. You never asked for it. You remember the judge said, where's your spoliation request? That was before discovery. Well, that's the thing. They hadn't done anything right. They hadn't done anything. And like I said, these are the things where when you look at it, I've not been impressed with how Pxie's team did it. There was so much shit they could have done that would have made their case stronger. And remember, guys, it's the rules of civil procedure governs all of this. So that means there's procedure and there's rules governing those procedures. Just follow the rules. If you follow the rules, if you're fucked, you're fucked. But the rules make your position stronger. If you need to do stuff, when you say, I fully comply with the rules and all the procedure. And they didn't do it. They didn't do that. The court also granted leave to depose Melina, which I don't think they got leave to do it. And the court granted it, which, okay, but the idea the court's just going to let this drag on because of the international discovery process. The fact that might be dragging on, it's very much like the whole Melton and Nick continuance thing. If you know you have a problem, fucking get on it right away. Like the idea you didn't know Destiny's ex-wife lived in Sweden and you're going to have to basically fucking hunt her down because she could easily say like, yeah, I'll make myself available. She could fly here to America and you could serve her with a subpoena and like, that can happen. That could have been worked out, but it sounds like she's not doing that. It sounds like she's like, nope, I'm hanging out with my millionaire husband right now, living the high life. So you're going to have to go find her. They should have been they should have been working on this from the start, like from the jump. We're working on getting you file your complaint. You start working on figuring out subpoenas and how you're going to have to go after this person. Because if you do that and you say, Your Honor, from like day one, we knew this was going to happen. We're going to have to go get her. The court's probably like, I can see if I was a judge, I would 100% say, you guys are busting your nuts. It's only been, this case is barely a year old. Rock on. But when they've been fucking around a little bit, it's like, did you not know Destiny was married? Well, no, we knew that. I mean, that's a problem for me. That's a problem for me. The testimony of Destiny is very important. Yes, and if they haven't been able to get him to sit down for a deposition, that's a big problem, especially if that's, there have been problems on Destiny's end. And from what I've been able to parse through the record on, yes, there is. Luke is saying both teams in this have been generally slow. Yeah, but remember, ultimately, the plaintiff's the one that has to move. When you're on defense, there's only so much you can do proactively. There's still times where you're going to be in a reactive state. I think Destiny should have been moving for a kill quicker, but I think, he probably could have won a 12B, probably won a 12B6 motion. And then gone out and had done all that. Should the testimony of Destiny be called testimony? A deposition. He's going to give a deposition. Oh, yeah. Oh, Jesus.
You're a funny guy, Sully. I like you. That's why I'm going to kill you last.
I lied. I'm not going to. So they point out there's material issues for Melina, but I don't think I don't think the judge is going to get if the judge tells you, yes, you have the right to get a hold of Destiny and sit him down, cool. But the judge is going to say, what do you need for Melina? Do you want another 6 months to fuck around on that one? I don't think the judge is going to grant that. And I would say, I don't think you're entitled to that. I don't think you're entitled to that at this point. I don't think they prosecuted this. And by prosecuting, guys, I don't mean in the criminal sense, but prosecuting it in the sense of pushing forward on your claims. I don't think they did that well enough here to go it wasn't like he, when he was living in Omaha, when he was Steve from Omaha and he got married to her for a week and nobody knew shit about it. And, oh, we just found this information. Evan says, Alexa played Yes, Alexa played Despacito. So ultimately, they want the court to deny the motion for summary judgment. That's what MSJ means. Without prejudice, with leave to refile after the completion of Destiny's and Melina's depositions and the resolution of outstanding discovery. In the alternative, should the court decline to deny it, they request a 2-week enlargement of time to respond to the motion of summary judgment pursuant to Rule 6B. So what are they talking about here? Well, they say on February 18th, we had the initial complaint. April 4th, they had a scheduling order where the discovery cutoff date was December 16th. They say April 3rd, they moved for a preliminary injunction, which once again, I think was a complete fucking fumble on their part. That was another thing I think at the beginning, if you guys were here from the start, I thought that was the dumbest fucking decision. They waited over a month and a half to file an injunction and a protective order. Why weren't you filing that right away? I mean, if part of your claim is this guy's doing revenge pornography and causing intentional infliction of emotional distress and he's a bad guy, That should have been filed immediately. And the court even said that. Why did it take you so fucking long? And once again, this is another problem of the plaintiff's team not impressing me as much as the defense has. They say in May 23rd, after Destiny refused to agree to terms of proposed protective order, seeking to protect the intimate information of Pxie and non-party witnesses, Pxie was compelled to file a motion of protective order, which the court granted. And it said discovery could not commence until the protective order was entered. I mean, you could have requested all kinds of fucking documents. And also, more importantly, you should have at that point probably gotten ready to file, because they're saying, thus, we only had 3.5 months of discovery. You should have been on fucking top of that from there saying, we need more time. Didn't they initially file the TRO? No, it was just a complaint. There was no TRO right off the bat, which is a problem. The injunction request should have been like right away. And they fucked around for like, I just, once again, like I said, there's things I don't understand how and why Pixie's team did them. And I'm not a big time, like, I'm a penny lawyer. Compared to Andrew Bretler, I am a penny lawyer. But you could go to fucking Hee-Hawville, Ohio, where they tried Afro Man in a county of like 20,000 people. And that wouldn't make any sense to the attorneys practicing there. And they say this is further shortened by the stay order. That I'm doing my KBJ impression. Since the protective order was issued, we've diligently conducted discovery, serving 3 requests for productions of documents, a request for admissions and interrogatories, responding to Destiny's 2 sets of interrogatories, 5 requests for production of documents, and producing over 3,600 documents, which is a lot, serving multiple objection letters regarding the deficient responses to requests for admissions, meaning that they've sent letters regarding defendants' deficient responses, meaning when you request for admissions, you're literally requesting, will you admit to, yes, this, admit to this, admit to this, admit to this. You even, and just like you might say, well, what do you put in there? Do you admit that you did this? Yes. Do you admit you did this after the date of Cardi? Do you admit you caused intentional infliction of emotional distress? If they're dumb enough to fucking answer yes, you take it. But usually they're going to say no, we deny. But that's literally a thing there. They've, non-party witnesses for depositions, representing a non-party witness's response to a subpoena, producing 400 documents, serving subpoenas on various entities including Kiwi Farms, Discord, Google, Instagram, and also a non-party witness. The efforts to depose Melina, I think they once again, they should have fucking known that. And there's no way they could have realized, let's say the day discovery opens, after I think discovery's already open technically, as except for the stay order. We have Melina, we need to get her. And it's September 1st. And we've got 3 months. The idea, I wouldn't immediately go running to court and say, Your Honor, we have a foreign overseas deposition for a witness that we're going to have to get through various legal processes. That would be like one of the first fucking things I have typed up to hit the clerk's office. If you know about it well enough in advance, you file for it in advance. Like, I've had cases where, client goes bench warrant, for example, and he calls me, after a couple of months and says, what do I do? I said, go turn yourself in. And they do that, and then they give me a court date. I get a court date notice, and it's set for like 2 months out for a pretrial. But I've already got something scheduled. You know what I do? As soon as I have the free minute, I type out a motion to continue and say, Your Honor, I'm already scheduled to be somewhere else. I can't be there. I can be here other days that are available. I can be here later in that day if the court is willing to convert it. But I can't be there at that time. I don't wait till fucking 3 days before and say, Judge, I can't be there. you do it as soon as you can because that makes it easier for the court to want to do it because it looks like you're giving a fuck about your case. Adam says, where in that timeline do you get paid? Well, I would have already been paid up front because, like, if you're hiring me, you have to pay me before I do anything. So I've already been paid. And if you disappear, then I just sit there and I'm like, all right, well, I'll wait till you come back. Now they talk about the depositions. On September 17th, they requested Destiny's dates for deposition. On September 26th, the deposition of Destiny was confirmed for November 6th. Thereafter, a scheduling dispute ensued regarding Pixie's deposition, and then Destiny retracted his confirmation. On November 4th, Destiny filed a motion for protective order to coordinate deposition scheduling. I don't know, was Destiny withdraw it so he go play fucking Factorio or something? On November 5th, the magistrate entered an order staying the deposition of Destiny, pending resolution of the motion for protective order. The motion was fully briefed, submitted to court November 17th. The motion for protective order is still pending and thus was precluded from taking Destiny's deposition prior to the discovery deadline. And I think that should have been motioned and noticed immediately on that. But when you go back through this, this becomes an issue of, where is, hold on here. It is, let's see here. Oh, actually, I will say they did it right. I forgot about this. So on December 4th, there was a motion for extension of discovery cutoff by Pxie's team. I still think they should have probably filed it, a little sooner, but that's still, they're trying to actually get it done. So they actually did something right. They did something right. So I'll take that back. Pxie's attorneys didn't do something completely retarded. They haven't done something completely retarded. So they're kind of trying, chat. They're kind of trying. They say on November 5th, the court granted the motion for issuances of letters of request to depose a witness in Sweden. That should have been ready to go immediately upon the opening of discovery. Because the idea they didn't fucking know this is a little retarded. Anyway, though, how does this work, the process? Per treaty and convention, the Department of State then submits it to the Swedish Ministry of Justice in mid-December. This takes a long time. The Ministry of Justice has confirmed the request is being processed. However, it has not been scheduled. Now, they talk about Destiny's deficient document production. When they say Destiny made his first production on September 12th, 7 days late. 7 days late isn't that big a fucking deal. Isn't that big a deal. It happens. That happens. That's actually, you might say, like, oh, he's late. Yeah, no. Not a problem. That's actually not a big deal. Now, if it's like 7 days late every time, yeah, that's a problem. But like once, like, plaintiff objected via letters on September 18th, October 17th, and 24th. Destiny responded with a second production on November 12th, which also plaintiff objected to. Now, what are they objecting to? They're saying, you didn't give us what we're asking for. We think you're holding out. Your responses are not proper. Destiny agreed to make additional production to cure the deficiencies. Destiny also agreed that if additional production did not cure this, the defense team was available on December 11th or December 18th, the last 2 days available for discovery hearings on the magistrate's calendar. And it says eventually he made another production which didn't cure it. Pxie had exhausted her efforts to resolve the deficiencies without resorting to the court. They eventually get a hold of the magistrate, and they were informed December 18th was the only remaining day. On December 4th, they advised defense counsel that the supplemental production didn't cure deficiencies identified previously, and they're going to go forward with a motion to compel. And they then say that Destiny's attorneys despite having previously said they could be on the 18th, weren't available. And notice, this is a lot of like, beep, 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 beep. So yes, Pxie missed a deposition, but then you have Destiny not wanting to do a deposition. And then Joan Peters is going, beep, 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 beep. And then Brettler and the team is going, beep, 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 beep. Like, it's just, beep, beep, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. No, 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 no. This is a back and forth thing, chat. And this is where you should be like, oh my God, one side's fucked. No, they're going to be like, no, it's you. And they're like, no, it's you. So, yeah, and that's the point. They've been fucking around too. But overall, the plaintiffs have not been getting it done well. And I've been very disappointed to see how they're doing this. And I don't mean that for the sense of, I want Destiny to suffer or, you know, my personal feelings of Destiny. I'm just saying in general, they're not doing it the way they should be doing it. Now, they talk about the sudden unavailability prevented Pxie from getting resolution on things. They talk about the expert reports that were done by Mr. Jesus Pena and Dr. Robert Gordon. Destiny noticed a deposition of Mr. Pena, but then canceled it 2 days later. They never sought to depose Dr. Gordon. You know, in his fish sticks. Pena's expert report opined Destiny failed to use forensically sound data preservation and omitted the essential step of generating cryptographic hash values at the time of collection. I will say, chat, you notice that is kind of like the one thing that, you know, Brettler and them didn't respond to in their initial motion to summary judgment was like, fuck this guy. Because it looks bad. Because they have to point out, yeah, our shit does look fabric hobbled. They say, moreover, Pena opined the documents produced must be by the defendant bearing dish of alteration. And they say these issues relating to preservation and tampering must be explored at Destiny's deposition. Yeah, and that is a big thing, exploring all of that. Should Destiny fail to provide a credible explanation, we'll need appropriate relief, including spoliation sanctions. Because they can question Destiny on that. And if he gives answers, they might be like, well, we're shit out of luck on this. He didn't do anything in bad faith. Or we would get a spoliation finding. But yes, a finding of spoliation could result in an adverse inference. Meaning, chat, the judge would tell the jury, ladies and gentlemen, there was evidence, there was a Destiny destroyed electronic information. You have the right to believe that information would have been beneficial to Pxie. It would have been so beneficial to Pxie that it would have adversely impacted Destiny's case to the point you would have found him liable. The jury's allowed to make that. It's not that they have to, but they can make it. Let's see here. Let's see. You're saying, what if Destiny already identifies as having already completed the deposition? Does the court have to validate self-identification? Yeah. Char. So they point out 12 days before the cutoff line, with unresolved things out there and the stay order is still in place. Pxie filed a motion to modify the scheduling order. The motion is still pending. And it says, currently the following motions are pending resolution. The motion for a protective order governing public commentary. That got denied, which I kind of think it was going to. Plaintiff's motion for order to show cause. Plaintiff's motion defendant's motion to dismiss. Defendant's motion for protective order to coordinate deposition scheduling. Defendant's motion for sanctions. Plaintiff's motions for sanctions. Plaintiff's motions to modify the scheduling order. And the joint notice of resolution of confidentiality designation and motion to leave the refile papers. We're talking about everything is out there. So we're not going through the same legal standards. They're saying that ultimately the court should deny or defer because we need Destiny's deposition. Now, ultimately, this is a problem here because the stay order has been in effect and we haven't been able to depose Destiny. They say Pxie is thought to schedule Destiny's deposition beginning on September 17th, 2 weeks after the entry of the order and commencement of discovery. They point out it was scheduled for November 6th at which point Pxie would have had sufficient time to seek appropriate relief, including spoliation sanctions. Now, they have to... Now, that's where they... Oh, hold on here. What is it? Destiny Depot. Yeah. Destiny saying, Judge, I have a VOD of my depot on Kick right now. Well, yeah, that's eventually, that's probably will come out. So they said, ultimately, they point out here, where are they going to get to this? The disclosure of the video to Rose. Now, what are they making the argument? Assuming even an argument for the sake of argument, Destiny disclosed the video to Rose prior to October 1st. Pxie contends the manner of that disclosure rendered accessible after that date. And if it's available for Rose to keep clicking or Solo to keep clicking and watching and downloading, then it's still active. The plaintiff must oppose Destiny to determine how the video is transmitted, when and where he deleted the video attachment from the Discord chat thread, and Destiny's knowledge of Discord's well-documented security vulnerabilities relating to the exposure of user attachments. Meaning, are you sure that nobody else got a hold of it? Answer these questions are directly relevant and may yield additional evidence supporting her claims, which it's true. That can lead to more discovery and more claims and more evidence on its own. And without Destiny's deposition, they can't adequately redress or rebut assertions on summary judgment. Remember, Destiny saying, I did it right. Well, we haven't had a chance to test you either. And it's funny because they go on and beat this drum about saying, well, Abby has not been tested. Abby's untested. Destiny is untested. Destiny has not been deposed. So Destiny's in the same boat as Abby right now. And once again, Lou, this kind of goes back to your argument of they don't have to prove anything. You're right. But when you start once again arguing, hey, judge, look at this pile of dog shit that I just lit on fire. Well, you know, you're now forcing the court to look at your pile of dog shit. And if you start then fucking around in the case, well, now it's going to start hurting you. Now they start out with Destiny's own words. I preserved the entirety of my logs with Abby, including all files I did not transmit or otherwise disclose the video to Abby at any time. Yet Pxie has no opportunity to test the veracity of this assertion through deposition. Notice it's exactly the same words being thrown back at Destiny and Brettler. Moreover, paragraphs 11 and 12 rely on exhibits as purported support. And those are the ones that Destiny put together. You know, the forensic experts have identified tampering and spoliation in these. Even if it wasn't tampered, it's so shittily put together, it looks like it's tampered. You know, you're raising questions about their authenticity. The authenticity and provenance, the ability to show and demonstrate its history, must be examined through Destiny's deposition. Numerous questions are unanswered, including but not limited to the steps Destiny took to preserve evidence, what evidence, if any, was deleted, and whether Destiny obtained or retained hash values or metadata, why his production lacks such things in the metadata, why the attachment links embedded files are missing, whether Destiny used a reliable e-discovery platform, which it doesn't sound like he did, and whether he used Redact to delete Discord messages, and whether those communications were archived. Yeah, those are a lot of questions. Those are a lot of questions, chat. There are a lot of questions there, and oh my God, this thing is... Oh, God damn it. I don't know what's going on here with this court listener stuff and PDFs, but this is obnoxious as hell. They go through and just point out, like, none of this makes sense. They talk about the Excel spreadsheet that appears to have been created by Destiny. You know, they have the right to question on how you put it together. What was the methodology? You know, for example, Exhibit E says that I sent MP4 files to Abby, including names, creation dates, and transmission dates. Yet the file names reflect timestamps that post-date the alleged dates. Yeah. And remember, there were some issues there. Unless plaintiff has reason to believe the logs are incorrect, I don't know why this matters. Well, Lou, they have the right to inquire about this data. Destiny's offering data that he claims disputes their claims. They're allowed to investigate and say, why does any of this shit add up? Explain to us what happened. But also, Destiny has admitted that he was deleting things. He said he was deleting things. Well, what did he delete? How much of it did he delete? When did he delete it? Like, he has the right, they have the right to investigate that. They actually do have the right to investigate that. And once again, that could be used to get a spoliation order. That could be used for an adverse inference. It could be used for sanctions. A lot of things. So, X says, why hasn't Discord been subpoenaed? Because I don't think the records will show when he deleted something like that. They're going to show these conversations happen, but I don't know if it's going to show anything relevant to what he said. It might be metadata saying video files sent, but it might not. It's not like they're going to be able to pull up everything he sent out. It's not that good. So they say these are inconsistent and require explanation. Destiny says he preserved the entirety of his communications. Well, what does he consider preserved? How were those records generated in the role of Redact or other tools in producing these exhibits? I think Destiny even mentioned using Redact. You know, if he can't authenticate these exhibits, which is presently in serious doubt, I mean, that's the thing. Him just saying, yeah, I did it, that's not authentication, but you have to show reliability for him and credibility for him. You know, he can't rely on them to support summary judgment on the issue of disclosure to Abby Mack. And that's true. And at that point, for Destiny, he is now saying, well, that's not true, without offering any evidence. So this is a big problem. This is a big problem here for everybody. You know, they haven't had the opportunity to depose Destiny. It's going to be critical. They talk about the failure to comply with discovery obligations. Well, remember, it sounds like both sides are fucking around with the discovery. It sounds like both sides are doing that. They say that they failed to produce documents repeatedly, despite written objections and several meet and confers. And remember, the courts want you to meet, the attorneys to meet and figure it out. They say ultimately there's all kinds of stuff here that they need. You know, they wanted things from social media posts, Substack statements concerning her, Kiwi Farms data concerning her, and Destiny YouTube videos, Twitter posts, messages exchanged on Instagram, Snapchat, Telegram, WhatsApp, and Signal regarding plaintiff and or defendant. Yeah, like they want all kinds of stuff. They say Destiny failed to produce attachments or links sent by him in those threads. And that's the thing. You could say, yeah, here's all the stuff I sent. Okay, well, what? I want that link. I want that thing you sent. Where is it? You could say, well, I don't have it. Why not? Did you delete it? You know, there are missing attachments. And they're saying Pxie will be required to seek relief through a motion to compel. At the time they filed that extension for discovery, they should have had the motion to compel right out right then. Doing it now, I don't think that's going to get you what you want. Now they say Destiny seeks to benefit from his deficient and dilatory discovery conduct. They say under these circumstances, summary judgment should be denied or deferred until Destiny has completed his obligations. Then once again, they talk about the authenticity, about the spoliation that has to be addressed, and it should be addressed. They say they couldn't have pursued spoliation sanctions prior to deposing defendant without risking denial of motion as premature. And that's true, because the judge would say, hey, I'm not going to rule in this question Destiny. You might get your answers. You might get your answers. And they say, although the rule doesn't specify a deadline, courts recognize the motions for spoliation may be brought either early or too late. And that's true. There are some motions that they have a time and a season, and you gotta fucking nail it. And they just point out there's unsolved issues Unsolved issues. And that is... Why is this finding me? So there we go. And that is where we end up. And... So, where are we at here in chat? Hold on, sorry. So, Destiny... Oh, sorry. Damn it, I have the wrong fucking... I clicked on the wrong one again. Balanced them around. Sorry. So, they want a 2-week enlargement time to respond, or other relief is warranted. And this was back in February. And then from here... I don't know what happened with these. Normally, you just say the PDF's off. And then I don't know what's going on with this shit. So ultimately, there's going back and forth. This kind of goes, and guys, from here, this is where we get a lot of, that's not true. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Fuck you. No, it is. Fuck you. They go back and forth starting in entry 216. Because Destiny seeks his motion for summary judgment, 210. Pxie responds at 216. 3 days later, Destiny does a reply. There's, 7 days later, there's another motion for, there's another motion done. There is a plaintiff's reply to the motion to deny summary judgment. There is now we get to this stuff where, like, you see, so it goes back and forth. So, well, that's what I'm going to get to, Lou. We're going to get to something here, because what's being set for Tuesday? Ultimately, what's being set for Tuesday? There is a court hearing. A hearing on plaintiff's verified motion to continue the trial is set for April 21st at 8:30 a.m. And we're going to get to that here, because that is something I don't think is going to be granted the way they want it to be granted. I don't think that's going to work out for Pxie the way they're hoping it will. I think they're going to get the chance to... I think they'll get some things out of this, but I think the court is going to be not giving them what they want, ultimately. Are you going to listen live? I am going to be in court, so no. And we're going to get to that here. There's a bunch of these notices of the 90 days expiring. And then ultimately, then Destiny files a motion in limine. Which, chat, you might say, wait, aren't those only in criminal cases? No. You could file a motion in limine in a civil case. Motions in limine, isn't this federal? How do you listen? You can call in. There are phone, and this is where you can call in, and you're on a phone line, and you better shut the fuck up. It's federal court. They will not jerk around with that stuff, okay? Do not mess around. Yeah, there's going to be a Zoom room for listening as well. Yeah. Ag, you can listen to these things when they're on phone calls. So, like, when Russell Greer has had phone hearings and telephone conferences, you can call into those and listen. It's a thing. And then, yes, a Destiny situation, they've opened up a special room for that because they know there's going to be a lot of room. Yeah, it's federal court, no slurs. Don't, you're not screaming anything. Have a respectable name. Regardless of who you are, if you're pro Destiny or pro Pxie, if you go in there and fuck it up for your, like, if you're like Destiny and you go in there and you shit up the room, that looks bad on Destiny. If you're for Pxie and you go in there and shit it all up, that looks bad for Pxie. You also might just piss the judge off of both of them. So you might be trying to make the one side look bad, and you don't do it. You don't do it, guys. So don't go fuck around in court. I can only imagine. I've had cases where it's fucking frustrating to get stuff done. And I don't need Hitler was right 1488 in the background, sitting in the gallery, fucking around while I'm trying to get stuff done. That would be the last thing I want. No, and they're not going to give Jim the link. Lou says, I think you're giving Chat ideas. I don't want Chat to have these ideas. Can you record the call? I would not recommend you do that. But obviously you do what you got to do. I would not recommend that. So don't choose Destiny's Child. No, don't do that. So ultimately, Destiny's making a motion in limine. And why? Because you're allowed to limit the introduction of evidence. Because remember, it's a motion in limine. You're asking for a limiting of things here. You're trying to preclude arguments and evidence. And you're trying to prevent plaintiff's use of a pseudonym at trial. I mean, they want Pxie to have to use her name. And they say ultimately, now this is a footnote they put in. Destiny has already said, and this is fair because you do want to cover your ass. Your Honor, we're asking for this because you haven't ruled on these pending motions. We don't think there should be a trial. But in the meantime, because you haven't made a ruling, we have to proceed forward. And that's a big thing we see in some of these cases. If the court hasn't made a ruling, sometimes the attorneys sit on their hands and do nothing. No, until it's very much like if I have a client and you need to get a continuance. I file a motion to continue. And let's say it's 3 weeks out and the court hasn't ruled yet. I file it 3 weeks from the court date. Until you get confirmation from me that the court is going to continue it, whether I get an email from the bailiff, I get an actual written order, or when I'm there and I can verify it in a way where the bailiff says, by the way, we're granting your motion to continue. Go ahead, tell your client now, we're going to get you rescheduled. Until I have that confirmation, I'm not going to tell you not to come. Until I tell you you're good to go, your ass better be there on that fucking day. So until the court makes a ruling on all this stuff, they have to do this. And it's important. You have to keep doing these things. And this is actually good stuff. This is what you have to do. So they're challenging 3 categories of evidence, and they want to exclude it at trial. And they say, pursuant to the rules of federal rules of evidence, 401, 403, 801, and 901, they're filing this motion in limine. And it's omnibus means it's challenging a bunch of things at once. That each of these categories is irrelevant to any claim. It's unduly prejudicial. And in several instances is hearsay or lacks authentication. Now, guys, remember, 801 is, hearsay. 901 is authentication. And then 401 and 403 are regarding relevancy. Jesus Christ, EDW, no. So they're arguing any evidence that Destiny transmitted the video to a minor. They're arguing that's absent from the amended complaint, has no bearing on any element of her claims, prejudiced the jury, and is subject to Destiny's motion for sanctions. Yes. The declaration attached says that any testimony from non-party witness Abby, and they say counsel represented Abby obstructed, and ultimately Destiny couldn't serve the subpoenas. They're saying that's all hearsay because they couldn't challenge it, and therefore should be excluded. Okay. And they're talking about Pxie's use of a pseudonym at trial. While pseudonymity may be permitted in limited circumstances during pretrial, its continued use before a jury would unfairly prejudice Destiny, as it suggests without proving that Pxie is deserving of some special status or protection as a victim. That is entirely a very good argument to make. That is actually very fair. That's a very good one to make. It's prejudicial to give her any special status. Make her use her fucking name. I think so. At some point, she's going to have to spill it. Running through the whole trial as Jane Doe is a little ridiculous, in my opinion. I agree. At some point, it's fuck or walk time, Pxie. And I don't have a problem with them asking for that. I think that's totally fine. Now, they point out, we've gone through rules 401 and 403 before. And it's all about whether or not evidence is admissible. And you start out, what's evidence? And we'll just go through the rules as we do this here. Oop, well, that's not. Oof, that's wrong. I said rule 4001. So what's rule 401? It's a test for relevancy. Okay? So what's relevant evidence? It's if relevant if it has any tendency, meaning a little bit or a small amount or a significant amount, to make a fact more or less probable than it would be without the evidence. And the fact is of consequence to determine the action. Yeah, it can be consequential. Even a little fact can be consequential. So you deal with that. Well, how do you? Okay, great. But now we go to rule 403. Even if it's relevant, can we exclude it? Yes. You can exclude relevant evidence if the probative value is substantially outweighed by the unfair prejudice to a party. It's confusing the issues. It could mislead the jury. There's undue delay, a waste time, or needlessly presents cumulative evidence. Lou says, fuck or walk. Can you explain? Yes, if you've ever seen Glengarry Glen Ross with Alec Baldwin in it, when he gives the always be closing speech. When he's yelling at Jack Lemmon, God, who else is in that? Al Pacino and Ed Harris. He's yelling at the three, and he's yelling at who's the other guy? There's Jack Pacino, or Al Pacino, Jack Lemmon, Ed Harris. Who's the fourth guy they're dealing with? I forget. Who's the fourth real estate salesman. But Alec Baldwin's the guy who comes in to motivate him. Yeah, Jack Pacino. Anyways, during his motivational speech, where he says coffee is for closers, at the end, he says the first place winner in this competition keeps their job. Second place, from there, and he goes through it all. Actually, first place gets steak knives. Second place, you keep your job. Third place, you're fired. Fourth place, you're fired. And he says it to them, it's fuck or walk time. You're either going to make the fucking sales or you're fucking out of here. So that's why it's fuck or walk time. Now I got to fucking Google this. I got to Academy Award winning Jack Pacino. You guys are assholes. Hold on here. Let me see here. Glengarry Glen Ross. Alan Arkin. Alan Arkin's the other guy. That's who it is. So they were cheap steak knives, yes. And I would show that clip, but we'll get fucking flagged for, well, actually, would we? I don't know. But if you Google Glengarry Glen Ross on YouTube and Alec Baldwin, you'll get it where it's a pretty fucking cool speech. It's a very masterful sales speech. I can see PPP giving that speech to somebody. Now, ultimately, we're going to get back. Let's get back to this case. Let's get back to the stuff here. Just give us commentary after 15 seconds. No, we got to get done. I want to be done. But they talk about they talk about here the purported evidence that Destiny sent this video to a minor must be excluded. They're arguing it's not relevant and it's highly prejudicial. They say that ultimately the third-party witness, Rose, when she discovered the receipt of the video, was not a minor, but rather an adult male who goes by Solo. After they failed to retract these false allegations from her pleading, Destiny filed the Rule 11 sanction. So Destiny keeps on hitting these points, and this is actually really good. You go back through and say, Judge, look, it's really prejudicial. By the way, this is the shit we put in our Rule 11 sanction. there's nothing wrong with just keeping, like, you're not screaming at the judge about it, but it's just like it's in there right at the end. It's very snappy and like I like that. It comes back to it. You're just like, Judge, by the way, it's that thing you never did. By the way, and you just keep that and you keep bringing it up. And it's like the salesperson or preacher thing. You always keep that word, the rule 11, the rule 11, the rule 11. You're just keeping it fresh in his mind. So they point out that they're arguing it would divert issue away from the primary issues. And they point out the alleged transmission must be excluded. The probative value is outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice. I don't think the jury would be confused, and it's also misleading the jury. I think you just say it's unfairly prejudicial. Unfairly prejudicial. Giving the video to a minor doesn't fucking matter. Even if it's true, it has no bearing on the Cardi case. It only requires that you disclose an intimate image under circumstances giving rise to an expectation of privacy. And I agree. Right? That's a fair argument to make. The purported age of the recipient is irrelevant and any such evidence should be excluded. I think that's fair. You don't need that. Now, you could argue that it's something to go towards his credibility and honesty. Certainly, and I'm assuming that's what, we'll get to here in a minute. And they say they obstructed access to Abby in disregarding a subpoena. We've already been through that they want to be able to prevent that because we haven't had the chance to do anything with it. That Abby's exhibit is not authenticated. It's an inadmissible hearsay. They argued that it's a self-serving, unauthenticated text message. Well, I mean, all that shit from Destiny's pretty self-serving too. I mean, I think you should be very careful when you make these arguments because if it can easily be thrown at you, you kind of just stepping on a rake. And they say they failed to establish Destiny transmitted the video to Abby, or if he did, when. Now, that's actually a fair argument to make. When is the big thing here? At the most, the exhibits reflect Abby's own characterization of what she believes she possessed, not evidence that Destiny actually transmitted the video. And then ultimately, they say it should be excluded. I don't think that's really going to be there, but I think the kicking out the minor part, unless they have an argument for it, I could see that. Should Pxie be allowed to use her pseudonym at trial? No. I don't think she should. She should be forced to fucking identify herself. Because yes, being a victim is a perceived legitimacy and sensitivity. And yes, this is a good point. I've made this point before too. Although in criminal cases, it's the victim who fucking brought all this shit up to the cops. And accused this guy of conduct and breaking the law. And, the court looks at me like, bro, I'm not fucking giving that to you. But you still make the argument anyway. Destiny should be given the same opportunity to publicly confront his accuser. I fully fucking agree with this. This is one I agree on 100%. This should be granted without a doubt. And if the judge doesn't grant it, I'll actually be very upset when this happens. They say the case of anonymity is further undermined by Pixie's public-facing conduct. She's not a private individual. Yeah, she's appeared under the moniker Pxie. Yep, I agree. She should be forced to do it. And that's what Destiny wants out of this. They want to force her to do this. And, part of that is, in Rittenhouse, there was a debate over calling Gage a victim. I agree. I mean, to be fair, though, in most cases, you're going to object to saying that person's not a victim yet. To say they're a victim implies that they were, especially like in a self-defense case, which is kind of what you're dealing with there. Well, who is the victim? And, there's times where you get away with that depending on the case. So, but yes, it's very true. It's very true. It's a problem too. Not just, declaring, who's a victim or how a victim. Yeah, it happens. Hugh says, hey, Tubby. Hi. And And then as we go here, guys, at the end of March, there was the order denying the protective order for public commentary. That is entirely a very rational decision. I have no problem with that one. Totally makes sense. The order denying the motion, the order to show cause, it's denying also the seal in motion for the order to show cause. Order to show cause got denied, got recated, and rightfully so, have no problem with that. And then from here, Pxie goes, well, I have a motion in limine too. You're like, well, what? What's the motion in limine for you? So they submit this as their own thing here, and they say, ultimately, we still have unresolved depositions. There are also unresolved discovery issues. They haven't been able to depose Melina yet, but it's like, you guys, that's their fault still. It's still their fault. Accordingly, they reserve the right to supplement or amend these motions after the court rules on them. Yeah, it's a little tough. It's a little tough. But yeah, the court, I mean, like, you could ask the court to hold this all in abeyance till you figure it out. Now, they point out this is all about whether Destiny disclosed the video without Pixie's consent in the time frame of the law. Destiny's trial strategy, however, seeks to divert the jury from that question by introducing irrelevant, prejudicial, and legally improper arguments. Now, here's the thing, guys. You can address these at the time of court and say, Your Honor, that's not relevant. It's easier to get out in front of it, though, to do what you need to do at that point. So that's why these motions eliminate. You're better off making arguments ahead of time. So they say, through this motion, plaintiff seeks to preclude 4 categories of such evidence. First, that Destiny should be barred from advancing implied consent, which is foreclosed as a matter of law under the governing statute. They say, second, anything about Pixie's sexual history or predisposition. Well, that would be like a rape shield type of thing, but you're in a civil situation, so it's not really that. And also because there's no allegations of sexual conduct in the traditional sense. They say Destiny should also be precluded from relying on self-generated spreadsheets. I agree with that. You know, there's no proof of them, and it would mislead a jury. Fourth, Destiny should be barred from presenting a so-called catfishing defense or related arguments that mistake the statutory definition of disclosure and bring in collateral issues. So we're not worried about the legal standard again, because it's the same things, Rule 401 and 403. We're not going into that because it's the same thing Destiny's already brought up. Now they're saying implied consent should be excluded. And they say that Pxie implied consent by participating in communities where she shared images, that she previously shared content with Destiny or third parties, suggested the video be recorded, or consented or participated to in creation of the video. I don't think Destiny's going to argue that gives him the implied consent. This is what they're going to argue gives implied consent, that Pxie shared the video with a third party. That's the strongest argument for implied consent here. The rest of these, I mean, if she was in a community where it's common, that would also be a very strong point in Destiny's favor. The previously shared content with defendant or third parties. This one kind of, number 2 and number 5 are kind of the same. And I think that's actually very important. And it says, Cardi unequivocally requires explicit, non-implied consent. It defines consent as an affirmative, conscious, and voluntary authorization made by the individual free from force, fraud, misrepresentation, or coercion. Now, I think you can argue, though, your actions can imply consent. I don't think you would be able to say that that's... If Pxie makes that argument in court, I think that's going to be a very tough sell to a judge. That we can't imply someone or infer someone's mental state from their actions. We do that all the time in the law. That's entirely reasonable. And the statute clarifies that consent does not constitute consent to its distribution. And that's why saying, oh, I agreed to have it recorded, that's a weak argument. Or I participated in it, that's a weak argument. Those won't go anywhere. And it says, prior disclosure of this depiction to another person, doesn't constitute consent to further disclosure. Yeah, but I don't think that that's going to be proper in that, but actually, I do kind of want to see if that's exactly what they're saying here, because remember, these guys are going back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth. You know, they're going back and forth with each other, and it's getting a little gay. There we go. Let me B2. Hold on here, chat. Oh yeah, no, there we go. The fact that it was, depicted as someone else should not establish the consent for further things. Well, there you go. So that's actually there. Joan isn't kind of running wild with her discussion on this. Oof. That's bad for Destiny. There's also no basis for the Destiny's position. Destiny admitted under oath that he never obtained verbal or written consent from Pxie. Nor has Destiny produced any evidence of such consent. Well, there you go. I don't think he has. He further testified that it's common in some circles to trade multiple explicit materials. I think that's just at that hearing. He ended up having to testify as well. And they say defense counsel also listed testimony from Destiny and Pxie that it was Pixie's suggestion to record a video. And that she shared the video with her then boyfriend. And that she shared with Destiny video of herself and another guy. And then it says Destiny's repeatedly asserted these same contentions. And they say they talk about material arguments have been rejected previously. They cite a case here. Inferring consent. Well, that's not going to work. Notice they're only doing, district court cases because there's not a lot of case law on this yet. Not a lot of case law. Also, are you guys dead or did I just run everyone off? Anyways, I still think that there's going to be an argument, it's going to come down to whether or not Destiny can get this out of the Cardi limitations. Oh, I was just like, wow, there was like 5 minutes, nobody showed up. That was like fucking quartering level, like, what the fuck is going on? The chat didn't move for a minute. The document dump is a lot, yeah. Well. Hey, Elvis, I didn't know if you heard, but I'm heading out your way. We're moving down to Florida. So this is her argument here. And they say the evidence invites impermissible character inferences saying she's a hoe. Once again, that's not going to be an effective argument. Pixie's sexual history. Nope. That's not going to work. That shouldn't be allowed. She a hoe. Okay. Destiny's reliance on his fabric hobbled shit. Yeah, that shouldn't be allowed. Especially, even if he gets questioned, I don't know how you're going to be able to do it because there are no hash values or metadata. I still don't think it'll work. I want to hear your prediction for Tuesday. Well, I'm working my way to that, Lou. The catfishing defense should be precluded. Why can't we do the catfishing defense? Well, they point out the identity of the individual operating the account or had access to it's irrelevant. If he gave it to Rose or somebody pretending to be Rose, Destiny did it. Fair enough. Catfishing would confuse the jury because they'd be say, well, if Destiny got tricked, that must mean it's wrong. Yeah, I can see why that's a fair argument to make. Really, remember, we're kind of stuck in the whole, is it Cardi or is it not in Cardi? I hate saying it like that. It's like talking about, is it inside Cardi B or are we not inside Cardi B? And it's like, ugh. It was actually gay shouldn't be a legal defense. It's not. Yes, my engagement's under attack. So, and I agree that this really confuses the jury and misstates the law. So, transferring is all set there. I do think there's some arguments they can make here. I think there's some for Pixie side that are compelling, but Destiny, I think the biggest one, I'm like, you're going to have to fucking use your name. And I think that's only fair. That's only fair. She's got to use her name. She should be forced to use her name. That's not, that is horse shit if she doesn't have to. Let's see here. Okay. All right, sorry guys. I'm trying to get through which one of these things that fucking doesn't show up now. All right. As things moved on here, finally on the 8th, Pxie filed another thing, and this is what they're going to talk about here on Tuesday. They're asking for a continuance of the trial. And this is where we're pretty much going to end because there's not a whole lot after this that happens. There's some responses to the motion to limine. I'm not worried about that because the hearing on the continuance is actually what's important right now. So, that is going to be, let me see here. Okay. Pxie's asking to continue the trial. And I don't know what we're going to have to go through this here and cover this. So they want to continue the trial, which is set to begin May 18th. This case is not trial ready, and proceeding the trial under the current posture would be unfair. Why is it unfair? Because core discovery, most notably Destiny's deposition, has not occurred. Significantly, the court has not ruled on several pending motions that will govern whether and how discovery may proceed, including Destiny's motion for protective order concerning the deposition scheduling. Because remember, you can ask if one party is fucking around, you can ask for a protective order saying, Your Honor, we need you involved in scheduling this. The plaintiff's motion to modify the scheduling order, and also the motion to seek discovery necessary to respond to the summary judgment motion. Now, they talk about in the 11th Circuit, you have to consider the party's diligence, the prejudice that would result from denial, and whether to continue to cure the need for additional time. Each factor favors relief. They've diligently pursued discovery, some discovery, but not a lot of it. Not a lot of it. They say, as a result of this case cannot be tried in its current posture. They say, moreover, the defendant's summary judgment motion remains pending. That's another thing. It's like, Judge, you're going to have to rule on that. And yes, you should. If you're not going to grant it, don't grant it. If you're going to grant it, grant it. But, let's get it done. Trial is imminent, yet it remains unresolved whether Pxie may complete the discovery process. And they say, the court scheduling order set a trial date during a 2-week period beginning in May. As fully set forth in the motion to modify, the operative discovery period was significantly constrained. Discovery didn't begin until the entry of the protective order, leaving only a 3.5-month window. It's already stuff we've covered. This is the biggest thing here. Critical discovery is incomplete. Destiny has not been deposed. That's the biggest thing. The discovery disputes regarding productions remain unresolved. Yeah, but I don't know if the court's going to give a shit about that one. And then this one, a foreign deposition, Melina. I mean, honestly, if I had to guess right now, Lou, you're asking what I thought was going to happen. There'll be a continuance granted, but only to get Destiny deposed. I have a feeling that's what that's going to be. If you're asking, I think the court's going to have to grant that because if that has been held up, that's the only thing. And to be fair, Pxie has fucked around, but Destiny has fucked around a lot too. I think that's the only thing that's going to get granted. And Pxie too. Well, Destiny isn't the one screaming about getting Pxie in the meantime. If he wants that, he can seek a motion for that, but I don't think there's an outstanding motion for Pxie's deposition right now. I don't recall seeing one, but yeah, certainly. Yeah, Pxie's deposition took. No, I understand. I'm just saying, I think the court's going to say right now before me is just a request for Destiny's deposition. And that's going to have to happen. But the rest of this, I don't think he gives a shit. And I think he's going to say, I don't fucking care about Melina. I know there's a sanction over it that she missed it. But in the meantime, like, they haven't said, Your Honor, we need more time to depose her. They haven't asked for it like that. There's a sanction for it, yeah. But they aren't saying, Judge, whoa, whoa, whoa. I need to depose Pxie. I need more time on this. No, Destiny wants to push forward, and I get the idea. No, 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 no. You're going to go forward with a half-assed case and watch it implode. Lou says, can they make that argument at the hearing? I think they, like, I'm not a federal practitioner, so I would like to think, yes, you can, but it's always better to have a motion filed ahead of time. But yes, if I'm Bretler, I'm saying, well, fuck, we need to, you know, I would say, Your Honor, if you're going to grant that, we demand to have an order that she gets deposed to. But the rest of this, I don't think he's going to care. Like, he's going to say, Melina, too late, don't care, not getting involved. It's going to be Destiny gets deposed, Pxie gets deposed. Fuck the rest of it. I don't think he's going to give two shits about Melina. Even if there's the issues of these orders were done and the court hasn't moved on it, I think he's going to argue we're not waiting 6 months to fucking depose Melina, and then however long discovery after that may go. I would assume that's his big fear. Maybe he brings it up like that. I would assume that's what he's going to argue. Any discussion on the motion and summary judgment on Tuesday? Probably not. Probably not. I would just say that because and guys, really, this is only 7 pages long, but the core deposition hasn't been done. That's the biggest thing here. The rest of this, because of the dispositive motions, I think they're just gonna say, Judge, you need to make a fucking make a ruling. Make a fucking ruling. I think that's gonna be the biggest thing. Like, they're not discussing the merits, I would argue. So I think really the biggest thing here is they're gonna address this. Certainly there might be discussion of it. There might be a discussion of it, but I don't think there's gonna be a ton at this. I think that's really the biggest thing right now is to continue it. That's really the biggest thing here. And I mean, that's from reading the order. That appears to be all it's set for specifically. Now, the judge might, they're probably going to bring up, Your Honor, you haven't done it. We need an answer. In the meantime, like, fucking help us out here, Judge. That's this kind of an issue. Now, there was another order to have this case sent to mediation. Where did that get? Hold on here. I think which order was that? That was motion for a case referred to mediation. And like, this case is not getting sent back to mediation. That would be completely fucking stupid. That would be completely fucking stupid. Nobody would want that. So no, I think that's that this is that's not going to work for everybody. And I think they just want to address this and move forward. I don't know if they're going to get what they want ultimately. So, and I would also point out here, when you look at the motion that, like, the order that got attached, it only addresses the motion to continue. So that's really ultimately what they're going to talk about. But certainly the judge could say, we're talking about a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But I don't expect him to make summary judgment decisions on Tuesday. If that's what you're asking me, is he going to say, like, Destiny, you win, Pxie, you win? No, that's not happening Tuesday. It's going to be the motion to continue. I think that's exactly where this is going to end up. And like I said, I think Destiny to get his interview, yes. But for everybody else, no. I think the judge is going to be like, don't fucking care. Don't care. I mean, I'm curious to see what you think. Yeah, Lou says the head judge that called us. Yeah, because this is kind of like the judge is looking at this and saying, what the fuck is going on? We haven't, you know, we're like a month out from trial and there's a bunch of problems. There's a bunch of stuff that's 90 days out that hasn't been ruled on. We got summary judgments. We got motions. We got all kinds. We have sanctions that haven't been addressed. There's like a bunch of arrows are still in the air on both sides. So yeah, the court's going to say, and now there's a motion to continue. I think the court's kind of also using this as a, and I don't know if you hear this, let me know, but I have a feeling the judge is going to kind of look at both sides and be like, what the fuck are we doing? What the fuck is going on here? You know, because like I said, when the judge reads these motions or the magistrate gets these motions, on both sides, it was you, no, it was you. They both call each other cocksuckers, basically. I think the judge is going to ask him, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like I said, Destiny's going to get deposed. Pxie will get deposed. And that's it. So, I don't know what else you guys are thinking. I don't know if Destiny said, like, I'm going to walk out of there like a rock star. Who knows? I'm just telling you, I think that's all you're going to get. I think that's all you're going to get. So, oh, it was the main. Yeah, I hope the judge felt both to teach them a lesson. I don't think, like, ultimately it's not going to happen there. So, that's what I think is going to happen. If you were looking for an answer, like, nobody's going to walk out of there with a total victory. Like, I don't see Pxie getting denied the opportunity to depose Destiny. Given how the protective orders played out, I don't see that. That would be really unfair. And that would go against what the rules are meant to be. But the rest of it, yeah, I think they're shit out of luck. Oh, you're aligned? Okay. Yeah, I just think they're shit out of luck. They should stand proud. Yes. Not as mere subjects of the court. Yeah, who the fuck are you, judge, to tell me what to do? Yeah, I can't. I'm not gonna lie. When I heard that stuff, I can't believe I saw that conversation between Nick and Mersh, and holy fucking shit, Nick has lost his goddamn mind. Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. Oh. No matter what, it's still another win for the toe. Well, how does Aaron win Destiny's case? All right. Well, let's get to some super chats here and stuff. Fear Frozen says, you won't be far from him for long, Sean. Also, his name sounds like a stripper's name. Because that Destiny is a stripper's name. Plus that whole fag behavior with the famed Catboy collector. Well, yeah. Very true. Jefferson Post says, Florida summer. Planning to sweat the pounds off? Yeah. I'm like, the yard's small enough I could still mow it. It's like here, but down there I'm going to mow the yard. I'll be like, oh my God, I'm dying. Ah! It's going to be fucking awful, but I'll go mow the fucking yard. It's going to be great. Hey. You know, only a year to wait until I can take the bar. So, yay. Shredder S07 for 10 subs. James for 10 subs. Thank you guys for your support, your generosity. I hope you're still around. Sorry, but it took a while to get to stuff. Right, we got some woos tonight. Jefferson Post says for $2. This is why information and belief is said. Yes, upon information and belief, saying that's how you get around saying, I'm going to make a fucking statement that's, yeah. You know, Your Honor, we believe it to be true. It is a thing. I am undercover, or Ian Undercover, has been a member for 7 months. Thank you, Ian. Although Ian, like, there's that guy that was, I remember, what? There was like a football announcer. He had the name like his Ian, but he called himself Ian. It was like, okay. Jefferson Post says, but does Rose know what the oranges are for? Oh my god, watching side scrollers fucking mog Jeremy is hilarious. Mega Mobass, good to see you, man. Says Sean got the Epstein files part of the lawsuit. It's all redacted. The Destiny Epstein connection confirmed. Well, people call him Epstein now, so. And they're both down that way. You know, Epstein was operating out that way. You know, down around Miami. When what was his name? Acosta was the prosecutor. Edward Scott says, as a Zoomer lawyer, Your Honor, they didn't have a signed and notarized non-consent form for the so-called great case. Yes. Oh, Kill Billy says, what are the oranges for? I don't know. I don't know. Coffee Cat says for $5, this has always been a weather channel. Thanks. Jefferson Post says, hey, Google, search biggest spiders in Florida. I know. It's called the Huntsman spider. I am not looking forward to that part. Thankfully, I don't live in the woods. But God almighty, I am fucking nervous about that shit, man. Don't fucking remind me. You know, I'm not worried about, like, you know, there's diamondback, like eastern diamondback rattlesnakes and alligators. Don't really care. Don't care. Don't care. Spiders are the biggest problem. I don't even care that there's armadillos. And armadillos actually can transmit leprosy. I bet you, did you know that? Did you know that armadillos can transmit leprosy? They can. They can. That's fine. That's fine. It's the fucking spiders that are going to fucking drive me off a cliff. And the problem is, it's Florida, so there's no cliffs. It's all 2 feet above sea level. EDW Raptor says, you will have to mow the lawn twice a week. Don't fucking... I don't know. Like, the yards are kind of scrubby in the part of Florida we're at, so I don't think I will. Johan says for $2, a couple of bucks for the Rage Shadow Legends grift. Well, thank you. Ag says, this is what I'm doing instead of preparing for the Florida bar. Well, I can't apply for the Florida bar right now. Even for the July bar, you need, like, the timeline for that is, you know, I would have had to have been doing this probably like starting in December. And I won't be ready. And by the time we get all situated and we're all moved in, I don't know if I'll be able to qualify for the timeline for the February one. And on top of that, then I'll have to study for February. I'm probably going to have to do the July one, and I'll be then getting, you know, pass it, and the plan would be pass it, get sworn in like fucking 15 months from now. Yay. Oh. Lou says, yeah, and pangolins can give you COVID. No, really. James, I hope that explained why it takes a year. It's just the timing of it, because they only do it twice a year, and you have to... Signing up for it is not merely just like you go down to the bar association and be like, hello, I would like to take the bar exam. No, you have to qualify. You have to say, hey, look, I'm applying my character and fitness stuff. Here's all my things. Here's my MPRE. Here's all my info. Because I'm a lawyer from another state. They're going to want all my information from the Ohio Supreme Court to make sure I'm not like fucking sneaking out on them or something. So you're going to have to show all that stuff. But Lou's challenging me on this. Armadillos and leprosy is a real thing, man. You know, and this is a, you know, like I can't believe, like I thought it was a joke when I saw it too, but no, it's real. It's real, chat. Oh no, I don't want leprosy. I want the armadillos. Where is the armadillo Wikipedia? Because we'll use the Destiny approved thing here. Okay, armadillos. Armadillos with the quesadillas. Oh, you're joking? I have no idea. Well, here. They are placental mammals. Yes, they're along with the anteaters. There are 21 extant species of armadillo have been described. Most are distinguished by the number of bands in their armor. All the species are native to the Americas. I didn't realize there are that many versions of an armadillo, but yeah. I have seen this one before, the pink fairy armadillo. I've heard of this before. It's kind of funny. Kind of funny. Kind of cute looking. But the 9-banded one is, yeah. You know, they're solitary, nocturnal. And yeah, they're the ones you find all over. They jump up straight in the air. I kind of want to see that happen. But yes, they get run over on roads. They are, what is... Oh, and that's kind of interesting how they look. With their little shell on their back. Let me see. Habitat range, diet, behavior, predation, reproduction, effect on environment. Ew, people eat them. It tastes like pork. Ew, ew. They are used in medical research because they are among the few animals other than humans susceptible to leprosy. Fuck that. It's like Clyde dressed up as a turtle, yeah. Bella says they're more scared of you than you are of them. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yes, I am moving there, Lisa. We're moving to Florida. Next to Steve in Miami, no, we're moving up we're gonna be a couple hours away from Steve. No, she is near an FBI office and all that. So, you know, because she's a good FBI agent, she's my handler. So they reassigned her. So because I'm her, I'm the asset she has to manage. I have to move with her. They're not going to reassign a new agent. Yes, marmots have the Black Plague. I do know that. So, don't ask when you can get off. Yeah, koala bears give you chlamydia. Third World Aristocrat says, lol. No, she is. She is my FBI handler. Like, they assigned her to me, and the goal was to keep me occupied so I don't, like, drive a car bomb to the federal building. They're like, keep them occupied, keep them retarded, and, like, that's the way they're avoiding, you know, problems with me. So, I thought 2.0 was a disability support worker. Yeah, she's like my Rob Noor. She's like Rob Noor. She has to take care of me because I'm too retarded. So I hope you move to the neighborhood of Mersch. Mersch lives over by Tampa Bay. I'm not moving to Tampa. I'm on the other side of the state. I'm on the Atlantic coast. So I'm not near Mersch. Maybe I'll give Mersch a call, though. Reach out to him. Be like, let's meet up, Mersch. Which part are you moving to? How do they find out that they have chlamydia? I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't know. How long do you see me in the news waving a gun? It's actually a fucking surprise that hasn't happened yet with me. Honest to God, it's a surprise that hasn't happened, or we've played the game of how many fucking feds does it take to kill me. I'm surprised that hasn't happened either. Really, really. When you think about it, if you want to know the truth. It's just a little weird there. But that is, where is the actual, although if you guys have, I don't know if you guys have seen these the habitat animal things. This is where's the good one? The natural habitat cartoons. I don't know if you guys have seen these before. These are fucking hilarious, by the way. Does this mean you're leaving the Sean Martin law firm? Who's replacing you as the LBC outreach officer? No, the Martin law office is going to open up a north central Florida location. So we're going to have two offices. We're going to have an office here in the Cleveland area. We're also getting an office down in sunny southern Florida, home of the Martin Law Office Central Command. Just like Rush had the EIB Central Command, we're going to have the Martin Law Office Central Command. So no, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. Well, Sean, you will become a Florida man, so that day might be near. Remember, Florida man was probably a guy from Ohio who moved to Florida. But no, these shorts are pretty fucking funny. Where is the... Oh, shit. Where's the one? These are all fucking hilarious. They're just like animal facts. And they're... This is a good one. This reminds... Speak of... Because we're talking about Destiny and Nick Fuentes. This is exactly what I was thinking of with these two. What the hell happened? Uh-oh. What the fuck? I'm going to reset my computer. This is not right.
Does everyone glow blue?
Okay, here we go.
Why am I blue?
Okay, that... Damn it. Yeah? Who? I'm going to have a friend? You texted me? Oh, okay, okay. Now it just got here. Don't make... Like, am I going to... Like, oh, God. Hold on. I don't... If you guys can hear her laughing, this is not good. Oh, my God. Can you tell that guy, can he hold on to these until the end of, like, till we get there? Ask him if he still has those. Oh my God, chat. Oh my God. Okay. I don't, oh, seriously. Oh my God, chat. No, chat. You need to see this. You need to see this. I'll redact it well enough. Don't you worry about me, woman. I'll take care of that. I'll take care of that. Don't worry. Okay. All right, chat. This is like actually kind of cool. I've got some interesting news. Okay. So one of my 2.0 says 2.0 said this is well, one of my neighbors put up on well, it's not like in the, but it's like in the area, was this free 172nd scale and a 144 scale tank kits. And I'm just like, why? Like, I hope he still got them. I mean, like, he's got like tigers. He has a king tiger, a tiger, a T-34, an IS-2. He's got a mouse. He's got a panther. He's got a Panzer III. I mean, like, I'm all about that. And, like, apparently they're free. I just told her to message the guy and ask him if he still got them. Oh, I hope that's the case. So, fingers crossed, chat. Fingers crossed. I know it's free. They're free. I'll take them all. All right, guys. So what I was saying, though, was the platypus, or the, speaking of people like Destiny and Nick Fuentes, this is what I was thinking of.
Look around a little bit.
So
yeah, just a routine inspection. Just got to look around a little bit. Same old here. I mean, everything seems pretty typical.
What? Is there something on my face? Why am I blue? Does everyone glow blue? What does blue mean? What does blue mean?
Yeah, just a routine inspection. Just got
to be fair, they don't actually know why platypuses actually do glow under black lights. they don't know why. They don't know why. So that's one of nature's mysteries. So Back knows why. BobTube says, what channel is this? This channel is called Natural Habitat Shorts. And like I said, they're pretty fucking funny. A lot of these are pretty good. Like I also like this one a lot.
Dad?
I'm not touching anything and it's fucking running around. It's annoying.
Dad? Why are we just standing in the rain?
Because it's our duty, son.
Why is it our duty?
Because we're ducks, and it's what we do.
Why is it what we do?
I don't know, son. I don't know.
But why, Dad?
Ah! To appease the duck gods. I don't know.
No, it's not, Dad.
All right, smart guy. You can go play.
Thanks, Dad.
Duck god! Praise the duck gods! Duck gods! Almighty duck gods!
Dad?
But yeah, these are fucking hilarious. But yeah, they have TikTok. That's where they started out at. But yeah, you can find them on here on YouTube. They're fucking funny as hell. Shorts has a problem with scrolling in people channels. Okay. Well, did I miss something here? Haschick saying that terrifying chipmunk. Yes. Yes. Also, they're like, you guys remember that spider Haschick sent me? The fucking welded together one? The Halloween decoration? The spiders are like that big down in Florida. Also, hold on one second, chat. But yes, that's so don't worry, we're still gonna have it there. Yes, yeah, I know this. It goes mouth. They started a History Channel, really? Oh, I didn't know that. That's kind of cool. I hope it's good. James Reese said the model bench is full for the next year. It's already full for the next year. Like when I move, you guys are gonna see the stack of shit I have. Now, if I can get a hold of those things, it'll be even funnier. Oh. 2.0s. You just learned there's armadillos in Florida? No, they're in Florida. There's also hogs, all kinds of stuff. Did you know there's alligators in Florida at least? I'm surprised. Well, I was just asking, just making sure. Are you going to be able to tell the difference between an alligator and a crocodile? What? Are you going to be able to tell the difference between an alligator and a crocodile? Yes, crocodiles don't exist in Florida. That's the difference. Also, their snouts. Crocodiles have long snouts compared to an alligator. But there's no crocodiles in Florida. Either one kills you. Yes. Gator, my arrival's imminent. Florida does not have crocodiles, really? What's that? Well, you do have crocodiles. Uh-oh. There are only gator gamers. Oh, no, Jesus. All right, guys. But yeah, like I said, I think Destiny's going to... He's going to have to sit down for a deposition. But ultimately, the judge is going to be like... I think there's some people are getting chewed out on both sides. Both attorneys have been fucking around, so... This will be fun. Well, the iguanas, that's cool. And the pythons. Are you planning to engage in? No, we're not. So, poor Clyde will have to dodge gators. He'll be like James Bond when he's in, Louisiana. He'll be like running across their backs. So, well, I have a python barbecue. Yeah, I'll go be a snake eater. They also have Florida panthers. Yes, I am aware of that. So, yes, I do want to see the iguanas falling out of trees. That looks so cool. The golf course my dad works at, there's a ton of iguanas, and he's like, it's like watching fucking Jurassic Park, because sometimes they all run across like the green there's a couple of holes where they live. And he's like, it's like watching fucking Jurassic Park from like a helicopter. There's like 100 of them just like running along in a herd. How long till I shoot the toilet? Well, that'll be fun. Lisa says, why are we moving to Florida? 2.0 got a promotion for her job. And not the FBI, like her real job. And part of that is they spoke to her about like, you're going to have to come down to Florida all the time. She's like, well, what about me moving there? And they're like, oh, we actually will like that. Let's make that happen. So that's what all happened there. That's all it was. So she got promoted. I didn't. I'm still just me. So What do you slap one of these puppies between bread and try holding him back? All right, guys. Well, hey, it's midnight. We got done. It's like we got done like in a little over 3 hours, so wasn't too bad. Yes, I know I'm going to be Florida, man. It's going to be great. Oh. Yes, you're a winner every day, Sean, even when you lose. That sounds like degenerate gambler talk, but I like it. I'll take it. Oh. Think of all the collabs with Viva I could do. Yeah. Access time for modeling. Oh, it's midnight tonight, man. We'll do some models tomorrow night. We got time for that. We got time tomorrow to do modeling. So we did the work tonight. We'll hang out tomorrow. Let's see. No, like I said, guys, it's midnight, so we're not doing a model stream. So beat it at Mar-a-Lago, my dream. Yeah. I'm a little far away from Mar-a-Lago. It's like 4 hours away. Like this state, Florida is such a weird place. Like everything is like up and down the coast is so far. And then going from coast to coast, you're like, oh, that should be easy. No, there's like no direct line, no roads across Florida. So are we going to do games this weekend? I don't know. Time for your super chat. Did you do one? Did I miss it? Did I miss it? Let's see here. Oh, I did not see this. Okay. I hope Clyde enjoys eating lizards. Don't tell 2.0 that, because she won't let him outside. The Merch Cat Collab streams inbound. I know. We got cats too. Chat. Even the cat trees over here in the corner. So Florida also has a super active freight train scene. Thank you. Thank you. All the roads are north-south in Florida because of migration. Yeah. Yep. C3 Metal Tank for $2 says N. All right. Well, with that said, guys, we're going to wrap this up here tonight. Yes, Destiny has his hearing on Tuesday. We'll see how it goes. I think, like I said, one of the three things is going to be allowed. They're going to be told to fuck off on the rest. If the court grants it, great. Then if the court grants everything Pixie's asking for, we're like 6 months out before we even circle back around to that issue. And if he's going to grant that, I think that's all. Like, if he does all of that, I will say this as a prediction. That means he's going to deny the summary judgments, or he'll let them refile later. Because I don't see him allowing this to drag on for 6 months if he's like, they have a valid point. So we'll see. We'll see. So that's my prediction there. The juice train is in Florida. The what? Is that like a Schindler's List reference? Oh. Hashtag says I'm 6 years out from caring. All right, guys. Well, have a good night, chat. I will see you guys tomorrow. And remember, till next time, just because you did it does not mean you're guilty. Wait, I did the wrong finger. Should have been this one. Sorry, chat. I know you guys did tower. I know there's a group in Florida that plays bolt action. Trust me, I looked that up. I need things to do. Don't worry. I need to find people. So, yes. A shitload of bolt action players. So, good night, chat. I will see you tomorrow.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws, tips on hunting, and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops, even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. But please talk to a local attorney. Was that the fat guy?